All right, guys. Welcome to Press X Podcast, episode 64. Thank you all so much for being here with me and waiting patiently as we allow more people to file in. Hopefully, everything is good on the technical side of things. I think the lighting is okay. It's not too dark, but not too bright. Hopefully, the mic is coming through clearly. So, we have certainly a lot to discuss here today on this episode of the podcast. There was a ton of stuff that happened the past week, and it seems that we are slowly but surely getting to that point where everything's just going to happen at one time. So, there's a couple of things I want to go over with you guys first and let you know about before we get into today's topics. Before I do that, I would like to read these two super chats. I appreciate the support as always, guys. I guess one of the first things I'll mention here, for those who are here live right now, or for those who will be watching this podcast later on, do me a huge favor. As always, please hit that like button. It helps the podcast out. My goal is I want to grow the podcast. I want to grow our, in my opinion, awesome community here. And one of the easiest ways for you to help support that and help make that happen is to simply leave a like on the podcast. The YouTube algorithm picks that up, and that is one of the determining factors that helps push the podcast out in front of more people who may not know about it. So I'd really appreciate that. If you also want to help support the channel more directly, you can consider becoming a channel member, which is just a way for you to help support what I do here if you really like it and you want to go above and beyond. Another way you can do that is by donating a super chat, which is another great way to help support the channel. So I really appreciate all of the support you guys have been showing me lately. And right up front, I do want to acknowledge that I did put out a video yesterday. It was very different, and I was feeling very unsure as to whether or not I should put that video out. I was hoping to get a clear message across that I hope all of us can kind of put into practice going forward if we haven't already. And I just want to say really quickly that the support that you guys have shown me and that video and what happened, it's overwhelming, frankly, and it's something I'm extremely grateful for. So I just want to take a moment at the top of this podcast to genuinely thank all of you for what you do here, because when I tell you this podcast literally wouldn't exist without you, it certainly wouldn't be happening on a weekly basis without you. Any of the content I produce, it would mean nothing, right, if it wasn't for you guys. So I know that I haven't been able to respond to everybody and everybody who's been reaching out and leaving very kind, heartfelt comments in the videos and on my Twitter. But just know that I do see them. They are not going unnoticed. And I just want to thank you guys for that. So wanted to be sure to say that up front at the beginning of this podcast. And so before we dive into the member shout out and before we dive into the topics we're going to be discussing today, I want to read some of these super chats that we have already. So we have Devakin saying, "Hey, MBG, are you ready for Xbox Kojima MGS announcement at the Summer Game Fest? Happy Sunday, man." Well, thank you so much for that. Happy Sunday to you as well. I don't know if I'm expecting that at the Summer Game Fest. I mean, that would certainly be a mic drop moment, a mic drop announcement. I'm more inclined to believe that if that is somehow a real thing that's happening between Hideo Kojima, Xbox, and Konami, which I think it's highly doubtful. But if it is a real thing, I feel like that's something Microsoft would want to save for their own E3 event. But thank you so much for the super chat, buddy. We have Sir Speaks a Lot saying, "Can't wait to see the inevitable rant." Yes, that reminds me. I want to let everybody know my new merch it should be showcased underneath the stream. Like if you click out of the chat, but it's there in the shop now. I do have the Rant Juice mugs. I ordered one for myself to kind of show off while I'm streaming. I'm still waiting for it to arrive. I just still have my regular red mug here. But a lot of people have been asking for the Rant Juice mugs. There's 3 different colors. There's brown for like coffee. There's just black text. And then there's also blue text as well. So if that's something you're interested in, feel free to go check that out. I also have the Be Better God of War inspired merch as well. This design that was made up by the guy I work with, Rick. He did a good job with that, so you can check that out as well. We also have Rory saying, can't wait to play some 60 FPS Ratchet and Clank with ray tracing. Yeah, that's something we will probably discuss later on. Insomniac Games letting us know that we can pretty much play this game in every possible mode that you can think of playing it in, which is awesome. A performance ray tracing mode being one of them, which is definitely something a lot of people, I think, want, especially after experiencing it in Spider-Man Miles Morales. We have Primal Plasma. You're saying, what's up, MBG? Thanks for everything you do. Well, thank you for that, man. I always love seeing the support, and it always makes me feel good to know you guys appreciate what I do, and I also appreciate what you do, man. So thanks. And then we have Cinnamon God saying, can't wait for Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart this Friday. Yeah, me too. I gotta say, it's creeping up, right? Like, I kind of forgot that, yeah, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart is releasing this Friday. Like, that's very soon. It's literally dropping in the middle of all of these events that are going to be happening and all of this stuff. So, wasn't I'm not saying I wasn't expecting it or not prepared for it, but it's one of those things where it's like I'm so laser focused on all of the big things that are about to go down that it's almost like, oh crap, like, I'm sitting over here trying to Platinum Returnal. Don't know if it's going to happen. I'm trying. And then I'm like, wait, but then I got Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart coming up and all these events. And let me tell you, it's a good problem to have. I will tell you, that's a very good problem to have. But yeah, I'm very excited for it. The Caped Crusader. You're saying if Halo Infinite doesn't look as good as Horizon Forbidden West, in fact, I don't think anything Xbox shows at E3 will reach Horizon's level. So I'm not going to speak too much to that yet, Caped Crusader, because I actually have that listed as one of the topics we're going to discuss in depth. Once we start talking about the events and what to expect, I'm definitely going to be talking about some interesting stuff we're hearing about Halo Infinite, give you my thoughts on that. But thank you for the super chat, buddy. And we also have Keegan Moore saying, update. Ashang on Reset Era has said his info was outdated and now doubts an event in June. God of War trailer is still real. Roberto Serrano on Twitter has a date of July 8th. Okay, I appreciate the update, man. That's extremely interesting, and I'll have to maybe refer back to this super chat once we talk about Sony's potential event that they may have. Um, when it comes to any insiders, we always have to, be cautious and take it with a grain of salt. Specifically with Reset Era insiders, I mean, the mods are supposed to be vetting them and verifying them and whatnot, but still, it's like, it's a very shaky process, you know what I mean? And so you can't really put too much stock into it. I'll dive deeper into my thoughts on a PlayStation event and whether or not I think that's actually going to happen. When it comes to Roberto Serrano giving a specific date, that is interesting to me. I know a lot of people don't take Roberto Serrano very seriously. He has been very hit or miss with the overwhelming majority of things that he has discussed. But he has been spot on, specifically with PlayStation events, at least a couple of times in 2020, right? He's been pretty spot on. And the fact that he's willing to, look, I don't know how much he cares about his reputation. Maybe he doesn't care about it at all. Maybe it means everything to him. I really don't know. I don't follow him that closely. But if he's willing to put a date out, specifically July 8th, that's a very specific date. So I don't know what exactly to make of that. Let me check really quick. When is that? July 8th. So that is a Thursday. That is a Thursday. So I don't know. I mean, it could just be a very good guess, right? One of these guesses where it's like, oh, well, yeah, it makes sense. It could be, right? And if it doesn't happen, then you could be like, oh, well, they moved it. So we'll talk more about that later. Whiskey Gaming is saying, hey man, missed the last couple of streams, but looking forward to today's. Really liked yesterday's video. Well, thank you so much, man. I'm glad you could be here. Yeah, that video was a little bit nerve-wracking because I try not to get too heavy or real on the channel. I try to keep it gaming, positive, and, a little bit ranty at times for the entertainment value and the passionate side of it. But, there's just, it's some people were saying that, oh, I was weak for making that video. Like I shouldn't even acknowledge any of that. And it's like, I totally understand that. I actually do agree that people who are behaving this way and saying these things and being vile, they don't deserve to have any oxygen, right? In terms of like whether they're being recognized or acknowledged. I understand that, but that's why I thought long and hard about whether I was going to make that video, because I realized that I didn't want the focus of the video to be on what was said, or who said it or anything like that. I wanted the focus of the video to strictly be on a message and a theme that I was trying to convey, that I hope everybody can like, take something from it and apply it to their everyday life. You know what I mean? So hopefully that helped. I didn't mean to actually, I didn't even think about it. I didn't mean to actually put the individual's name, because I didn't realize like, people were kind of like bombarding him and people are saying, oh, he deserves it. And it's like, look, it's not my place to say what somebody does or doesn't deserve. What I will say is that I would not have normally done that if I'd put more thought into it, because it's not the point, right? Like the point is not to send an angry mob somewhere. The point is to convey a message that hopefully people can resonate with. That's the point. But thank you for that, man. We are going to get into the member shout outs. Don't worry. Caleb saying, stayed up for the stream, 2 a.m. here. But other than that, super excited for Ratchet. Don't usually pre-order, but it's definitely going to be worth it. Well, I appreciate that, man. I appreciate you staying up, on the wee hours of the morning to or night to hang out with me with the podcast live. I really appreciate that, man. And yeah, I would say I'm not usually one to tell people, hey, go out there and pre-order a game. But with a game like Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, I think it's 100% safe to pre-order it. As long as you know based off the trailers and the state of play that, hey, this is a game I know I'm going to play and enjoy most likely, you're definitely going to get a quality product there. I have absolutely no doubt about that. So I have mine pre-ordered as well. Actually, I did have it pre-ordered. I think I'm going to get it digitally. So I'm going to have to pre-order it digitally. I was going to get it physical, but I think this one I'm going to get digitally. Tyler, you're saying playing God of War and watching your podcast. Can't think of a better way to spend a Sunday. Keep rocking out, MBG. It's awesome to hear, man. Yeah, you can't go wrong playing God of War. I think the timing of playing God of War right now, I don't know if you're playing it on a PS5 or not, but regardless, it's one of the best games. I feel like God of War has become my favorite game of all time. Like, it's hard for me not to put it at that level, just based on how impactful the story was to me. Maybe we'll talk about that later on, but yeah, I'll keep rocking out, man. I'm glad you're here with me. Thank you for the super chat, buddy. Figuratively literal, you're saying, what's up, MBG? A bit off topic, but just curious. I remember your video reviewing Uncharted 4 from years ago, in which your opinion was mixed. Did your opinion change on that? It's hard for me to say, because I feel as though I would have to go back and play Uncharted 4 again. The reason why I was so mixed on it was because the gunplay felt too loose to me. It didn't feel as rewarding, but people were explaining to me that like that's kind of the point of the game. Like when you're playing as Nathan Drake, you're not supposed to be like a trained military marksman. You're basically running around like a crazy person on edge, kind of hanging on by, a single strand, and you're just kind of going at it, shooting your guns and your firearms. And I kind of understood that, but I guess like when I went into Uncharted 4, I expected, I guess, just like really tight, controlled gunplay. And, it's something I would have to go back and play. I really did enjoy Uncharted 4, honestly. Like, it was an extremely impressive game. I think that the performances in the game, the story was super interesting. Some people said it dragged on a little too long, which maybe a little bit, but I didn't really think so, because I thought the pacing of it was really good. So I don't know. I would have to go back and play Uncharted 4 again, and I don't know if I'm going to be completely honest, to give you my true, up-to-date thoughts on it. But when I played it, I did enjoy it. I was a little bit mixed. Maybe I was a little bit too hard on it, but it was definitely an impressive game. I remember being thoroughly impressed with what I was experiencing. So thank you all so much for the super chats, guys. Please continue to super chat away if you wish. But right now, I'm going to do my member shout out, which is, again, a way for you guys to support the channel if that's what you want to do. I I feel like I sound like a broken record, and I'm almost considering even removing the perk because I'm not holding up my end here where I say that one of my perks is to put out videos early, and I obviously haven't been doing that. I don't know that that really matters too much to people who are members simply because when I do it, it's usually get an hour early, 2 hours. But I will try. I promise I will try going forward to at least have a couple throughout the month that you get, early access to, so you can get your comments down. But nonetheless, I appreciate what you guys do. We have the Play Has No Limits Plus tier. This is the highest tier. So, you guys truly going above and beyond here to support the channel. Big shout out to Junior Jackson, Samuel Payne, Josh Z, Chlorine Kaploni, David Gaines, D-Doc, Agile Ice 24, D Luffy, and Brett G is what I will call you because I don't want to butcher your last name. And then we have the Play Has No Limits tier, which is another tier. It's the mid tier. So another big shout out to Brandon Chad Perez, Adrian Pollard, Sayan JT, Big Norman 0518, Tyson Webb 509, Shaky Shako, Sir Speaks a Lot, Jeffrey Hicks, Rune Gasoden, Whiskey Gaming, Ryan Butcher, Chris B, A Shorty Faye, Quantum Stardust, JD TV, Alpha Azer, Lions, Sin of Pride Lord Escanor, AJ Saeed, Morgan Anstein, and Anthony Ramos. So thank you all so much for the continued support, and thank you to all of my members, regardless of what tier you currently sit at. We have Creeping Stage 514 saying, if you have a light in the room, turn it on. Is it a little bit dark? Is it a little bit dark in here for you guys? Maybe chat, let me know, because I have my my window right next to me. The curtains are closed because I thought it was a little bit overexposed if I do that. So everybody, I mean, I appreciate the super chat, man, but I don't want to ruin the lighting currently. Everybody is saying it's fine, or it's good. So I'm just going to keep it the way it is. If you're okay with that, I don't want to, I'm afraid if I go open my window curtains, it's just going to overexpose everything. So we'll just have to keep it the way it is. And we have, I'm going to call you AG for short, if you don't mind, because I'm pretty sure I'm certain I will absolutely butcher your name if I try to pronounce it. So I do apologize. So we have AG becoming a member. Thank you so much. Part of the Greatness Awaits tier. So really appreciate that. Appreciate the support. Welcome aboard. So with that being said, I'm going to give you a quick rundown of the topics we're going to be discussing here. I do apologize that it's taking almost 25 minutes into the podcast before we actually get into any of the topics here. But the first topic we're going to be discussing is one that I definitely wanted to take some time to talk about, given the whole cross-gen situation, because we're obviously going to talk about that. But I want to talk about Horizon Forbidden West because there was a bunch of new, very important information about what exactly is changing in terms of gameplay and development-wise, or what has changed development-wise with this game, and some of the distinct advantages that the PS5 version of Horizon Forbidden West is going to have over the PS4 version. I think this is very important to go over because it sounds like it's going to be quite a lot, and it's going to be a significant difference between the two. And again, given the nature of it being a cross-gen game, I wanted to make sure to go over that with you guys. The next topic in line is, I'd say, the meat and potatoes of today's discussion, and that is the cross-gen situation. If there's any chance I'm going to rant in this podcast, it's going to happen during the discussion there, mainly because I am going to have to play defense for a little bit. I'm going to have to defend my honor. I have to defend my honor during the course of this podcast because with this whole situation, there has been a lot of flack thrown my way, and I've been kind of getting the brunt end of it. And I did have a 23-minute video that I tried to upload literally 8 times, and for some reason YouTube just wouldn't let me upload it. I really don't know why, but I was really frustrated, so I just figured, it's not letting me upload the video. We'll talk about it during the podcast. We have a lot to talk about with this specific topic, so we're definitely going to cover that. The third topic is all about upcoming events, Xbox's E3, whether or not we're going to be getting a PlayStation event, some rumors, obviously regarding both, but we have more rumors regarding the Xbox side of things that I definitely want to talk about. Somebody mentioned in a super chat earlier about Halo, and I think it was the Caped Crusader. I don't know if it was Caped Crusader or somebody else, but mentioning the Halo Infinite graphics and whatnot. So we're gonna have to talk about that. The fourth topic that we have lined up here has to do with AMD's fidelityFX super resolution. And this is like a super sampling technology that's going to benefit the PlayStation 5. There's been a little bit of controversy surrounding this. Some people saying it's not going to be available for PS5 or the PS5 isn't really going to benefit from it. So we'll talk all about that. And for the fifth topic, we're talking about something that has seemingly went under the radar, unfortunately, that being that Sony seems to be getting very serious about studio acquisitions and mergers. And I feel like Sony is going to be maybe changing their philosophy a little bit. They are in the process of changing their philosophy where they're going to remain all about organic growth, but I think we can expect more than that. So, yeah, we're going to dive into these topics here, guys. So, before we do that, as usual, leave the podcast a like if you haven't already for anybody who is maybe just tuning in. We also have another new member, Patrick. Thank you so much, buddy, for choosing to become a member of the channel. Welcome aboard. Really appreciate the dedication and the support here. We have iSiler18 saying, can I not upgrade my membership on iPhone? It won't let me, it seems. By the way, still waiting on that Last of Us 60 FPS stream. I don't know if I'm ever going to be doing that. It's hard to say. Maybe at some point we will. But I think the next game I'm going to be streaming is Ratchet & Clank. Surely you understand. When it comes to upgrading your membership, to be honest, I'm not 100% sure. That would make sense to me. I feel like I read somewhere before that in order to upgrade your membership, you do have to do it from your PC. So you might have to look into that, man. But I appreciate the support nonetheless. We're going to dive into the first topic here, though, and we're going to talk all about Horizon Forbidden West. Anthony, you're saying, glad to see you doing well. Sorry the wife is making me watch a movie with her right now, but I'll def watch later. Much love to you and your fam, MBG. No problem, man. No problem. These podcasts can certainly be long. I cannot go past the 3-hour mark today because I have something I have to do. We can probably push it up to like 2.5 hours, maybe, 2 hours and 45 minutes. But either way, there will be a nice, long, meaty podcast for you to watch later on. I appreciate you stopping by, though, man. So let's start here with Horizon. And really quick, just because I got the super chat, Sergeant Salty, you're saying, just got a Series X as my secondary console. Hope Microsoft delivers. By the way, what mode will you be playing Ratchet & Clank on? I'm either going to be doing the performance ray tracing mode or just the performance mode. When I played Miles Morales as well as Demon's Souls, but specifically Miles Morales since it was Insomniac, I played on the performance mode. I thought it was amazing. Like, visually, it looked pretty much identical to native 4K at a solid 60 FPS, and I was very impressed with that. So that's probably what I'll play when it comes to Ratchet. I hope Microsoft delivers as well. We'll talk about that. So the first topic for today, I want to talk about Horizon Forbidden West. There's a bunch of new information we learned about it. This is from a recent interview with Horizon Forbidden West's director, Matthias De Jong. I don't know if I'm saying his name correctly. I'll just call him Matthias DJ for short. So there's free climbing, and this is a quote. These are all quotes from him, by the way, that we're going to dissect about Horizon Forbidden West. So he says there's free climbing that we added to Forbidden West compared to the previous game. You are now completely free to climb anywhere on any rocks or mountains or cliffs. So we've really opened up the world and made it even more inviting to explore. And I think with the grapple, it's really great to quickly go up to something you can launch to go even higher. Then you can quickly descend with the glider. So it's also a combination of some of these tools that make it feel very agile and fun to use. The shield wing, the gliding, is something that we tried already in the first game many years before it shipped. It's one of the first things that we actually tried and prototyped, but we didn't ship it with the first game. Also, for technical reasons back then, we couldn't really do that, but now we have it and it works great. So just speaking to this for a minute here, this is something that people are actually really happy about. The idea that you're going to be able to free climb within Horizon Forbidden West. That was something that people were kind of frustrated with the first title, where there was just all these like mountainous areas and there were like specific ways you had to go up it, specific paths. and you couldn't free climb things that seemed like you should be able to free climb. So that's something they added, and he's talking about how you'll be much more agile, and that's actually something I'm really looking forward to with Horizon Forbidden West. To be completely honest, is I thought that one of the things that was missing with that game was the way you get around the open world, or the way you move around, and just overall, just the way Aloy was limited in how she could get around in terms of verticality, anyway. And so them adding all of this is very much exciting to me. I think if there's anything here that's going to go a long way in making the combat scenarios in Horizon Forbidden West just much more, I guess, more intense, is going to be all utilizing all of these new ways of you can get around. That's what I'm getting from this. Uh, Ramon or Raymond, you're saying watched your show after work an hour after last year's event and heard PS5s were early. Do shout out to you for getting my PS5. Thanks, homie. Well, I'm glad I could help with that, man. Yeah, that was definitely a fiasco. That whole situation with the PS5s and when they went up for pre-order. Everybody knows that before that happened last year, I was terrified that I wasn't going to be able to get one, and everybody was like, "No, dude, calm down, calm down. Sony's going to warn us." And I'm like, "I don't know. I don't know. I think we got to stick around. I think something's going to happen." And lo and behold, that's exactly what happened. But continuing on here, Matthias also talked about the expanded melee system that players will find in Horizon Forbidden West. So he says the melee weapon and the melee systems have been greatly expanded in Horizon Forbidden West. We now have different combos that you can also acquire through the skill tree, and each combo move has its own specific purposes. The one that you see in the demo has a multiple hit, and one of the last hits does this extra damage. There's also a combo move, which we call the Resonator Blast. This is where you build up the charge on your spear, and you see the rings light up at the end of the spear. Once it is fully charged, you can basically paste that energy onto your enemy and then target it with an arrow. That creates a massive damage point and a sort of explosion on the enemy, so you can use it to take down bigger enemies. There's a lot more depth also because it's in a skill tree. There's a lot more growth now possible over the whole melee system. Now, I got to tell you, this out of everything we're hearing has me most excited, because one of the areas that I really felt was lacking in the first Horizon was the melee, because I found myself using it constantly, but it was very simple and it was also not as tight, right? And the fact that they're not only cleaning that up, making it more responsive, you could clearly see that with the demo, but they're actually going to be expanding it in a very significant way with even more skill trees, even more special type melee attacks you can do. I actually appreciate this a lot. This is an area of Horizon that I think is going to benefit greatly, and I'm very much excited to actually play it and experience it for myself, because I could definitely tell when watching the gameplay demo that that was a big area where they improved upon. We have Whiskey Gaming. You're saying adding vertical gameplay is awesome, going to really open up how players can approach combat and traversing. Playing Horizon while I watch the stream. Well, there you go, man. But yeah, 100%. I think that, I think what we saw in that gameplay demo, there was way more going on just in terms of movement and everything that's happening on screen, and the way Aloy is approaching combat and the way the player is controlling Aloy in combat. I think it was just a natural progression, and so people were maybe less impressed because it's this is what you would expect. But I think once we actually play it for ourselves, we're gonna realize okay, this is a huge upgrade. Continuing on here, lastly, the developer confirmed how most of the game's development focused on the PlayStation 4. However, Horizon Forbidden West will still look and play at its best on PlayStation 5. So he says a lot of the development has taken place on the PlayStation 4, and a lot of play testing is also done on PlayStation 4. So we are ensuring that owners of that console have a great experience, and that Horizon Forbidden West will look fantastic on that console. For the PlayStation 5, we can go much further. Of course, visually, we can add a lot more detail. Graphically, the rendering technique for the underwater scenes is special on the PlayStation 5 and has extra details and extra systems. The wave technique is better on that system as well. Actually, the lighting on Aloy on the PlayStation 5 also has much more definition. We use a special cinematic lighting rig that on the PlayStation 4 is only used in cutscenes because the game is not running and we have more processing power in those scenes. But for the PlayStation 5, we have plenty of processing power. So we can have that lighting rig always available. She always looks great with that lighting setup traveling with her anywhere. Then of course we have the DualSense controller, which adds another sense of immersion because specifically with the weapons that are so important for the combat in Horizon Forbidden West, the adaptive triggers conveyed a sense of pulling the bow and releasing the arrow, much better than the DualShock DualShock controller. The haptic feedback is more immersive in that sense. He continues, then we have 3D audio, which is also great. Immersion is always super important for us when we are thinking about Horizon Forbidden West and are designing the environments and all of the mechanics. We really want the players to kind of feel like they're in that environment. And, so he's basically saying that all of these added features that the PS5 offers will hopefully add to that sense of immersion. It's very important here as well. Guerrilla Games, and this is a big one. This is possibly the most important one. Guerrilla Games also confirmed a performance mode that will offer 60 FPS alongside the fidelity mode. I wanted to be sure to let you guys know about this because I didn't talk about it in a separate video, but I speculated that there would certainly be a 60 FPS mode. One of the biggest gripes that people had with the Horizon Forbidden West gameplay demo was the fact that it was running at 30 frames per second. Now, obviously, there will need to be a few compromises if you're playing it at 60 FPS on the PS5, maybe a slightly lower resolution, but you probably won't notice a big difference. If they're going to have ray tracing, which apparently they confirmed they are going to have ray tracing, you won't have that most likely in the 60 FPS mode. But that's the last thing here is ray tracing was also confirmed. And so Matthias said, we use ray tracing technology for a lot of the things in the game. We use it for the sound engine, for the physics, and for the rendering. So we use a variety of technique setups. In terms of ray tracing, I'm not a tech engineer, so I can't explain it in much more detail than this. But yes, we are utilizing it. Now, before I talk more about this, Rory, you're saying, I really want to see just how much you can climb and see if you can climb the Golden Gate Bridge and glide off there. Yeah, you would think that that's something you would be able to do, right? We are going to have to see that kind of, in practice. We're going to have to see that demoed, like how much freedom do we really have here. But I definitely wanted to be sure to highlight this part specifically, talking about the differences between the PS4 version and the PS5 version, because with this whole talk of cross-gen, people are very concerned about how much this game is going to be held back. And there's actually one last piece of information here that I saw written up over on Push Square, where they talk about flying mounts, because it was famously said by, I'm not sure who said it at Guerrilla Games, but I know that Guerrilla Games said that we couldn't do flying mounts in the first Horizon Forbidden West due to technical limitations, due to, I think, the hard drive in the PS4, like they just couldn't stream in things quick enough. It's a little bit weird when you hear about that, because if you think about it, there are other games on the PS4 that kind of already do that. Like you think of Grand Theft Auto, you can fly all around, no problem, in other games. I'm not going to lie to you. I almost feel like Guerrilla, this is their first time developing an open world game. I feel like maybe there was just some things that they wanted to do, like that other games have already achieved in terms of like, oh, this is a thing you can do in our open world game. But they felt a little bit like, okay, we're having trouble getting this. So, realistically speaking, when they talk about, a lack of certain features in a game, they're not going to come out and say, well, we're not competent enough yet to be able to put that feature in because this is our first time making an open world game. They're not going to say that. It would be easier to just say, well, due to technical limitations, but then again, maybe it really was. Every game is different. Every game has different code, obviously, and maybe it wasn't something they could make work. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is because, again, we have an interesting take on what was said about flying mounts coming from Push Square. So, according to the director Matthias, DJ is what I call him, the team's at least aware of the request. Quote, we are aware that this feature is very, very high on the wish list of many gamers, but I cannot confirm or deny anything about flying mounts. This is what he told Singapore News Live. I can only talk about what's in the actual gameplay demo that we showed during last week's State of Play. Now, why is this significant? I mean, he's not confirming or denying it because he was also asked if we could mount and ride the, what are they called? The tremor tusk, I think is what they're called, the big elephant looking thing. And he flat out said, no, you cannot. He confirmed you cannot. So you would think if he's willing to confirm that you can't ride this specific machine, right, when directly asked, you would think that that would also apply with the mounts as well. Flying mounts, right? Like the storm birds, I think that's what they're called. And so the fact that he's not denying that, and he's also acknowledging that this is one of the most wished for things. I don't want to get anybody too excited. We have to wait for the confirmation. Tremor tusks. Is that what they were called? What did I call them? Did I call them the wrong thing? I can't keep track of all these names. There's too many. There's too many names. They all sound the same to me. I'd rather call it the robot mammoth, the robot elephant thing. Stormbirds and glint hawks. Yeah, there you go. Tremor. I called them tremor rusks. Is that what I called them? Anyway, putting the names aside, this is exciting because I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, it would be a pretty bad look for the whole cross-gen situation regarding Sony if we find out that you can't ride or fly, you can't have flying mounts. It would be pretty disappointing because when Guerrilla Games says with the first Horizon, we couldn't do it due to technical limitations, that makes everybody instantly believe, well, then of course you could do it on the PS5, right? There's not going to be a technical limitation there. And then if we find out now that the game's cross-gen, you still can't have flying mounts, it's like, okay, well then we're very clearly, distinctly seeing an area of the game. MBG getting trolled, yeah. We're very clearly seeing an area of the game that is in fact being held back due to the technical limitations of it having to also run on the PS4. Maybe we could see a situation where they announce that you can have flying mounts in the PS5 version, but not in the PS4 version. That would be extremely interesting to me. But I'm not going to lie to you. Like, it is interesting to me that he's not confirming or denying it. You would think that it would be in his best interest, considering he's mentioning right up front, we know how much of a request this is. It would definitely be in his best interest to just shut it down now, just like he did with the Tremor Tusk, and say, no, we can't do it. So what do you guys think? Do you guys think that we're going to be able to have flying mounts in Horizon Forbidden West? I want to say, yeah, I think we can. Maybe even if it's just for the PS5 version. And also everything he's talking about here, before we move on to the next topic, he's talking about all of the distinct advantages that Horizon Forbidden West is going to have when played on the PS5. And they are pretty significant here, right? You guys are saying I see a lot of you saying you don't think they will. I mean, that's what's interesting to me, right? Like, you would think if you could fly mounts, that's definitely something they would want to showcase in their first gameplay reveal, but maybe they want to save it. They can't show everything at once, right? I don't want to get anybody too excited, and I certainly don't think that will make or break the game, obviously, but that is a big thing that would, I think, be awesome to see in the game, right? But he mentions here how, and this is one thing that I wanted to be sure to highlight, is that the rendering technique graphically for the underwater scenes is apparently exclusive to the PlayStation 5. Like, they're doing something very special for the PS5 version that they just simply are not able to achieve on the PS4 version. Same thing with the lighting techniques. And these are all the things, I guess you could say, that are scalable, right? Like, this is where, when you hear about scalability, this is what we're seeing it. Now, we're going to get into the deeper discussion of, well, what is the real problem with cross-gen, that being gameplay design limitations. Realistically speaking, just talking about Horizon Forbidden West for a moment here, I do not believe Horizon Forbidden West is going to be held back in any significant way. And my main reason for this is exactly what Guerrilla Games confirmed here, exactly what Matthias is confirming, is that a lot of development has taken place on the PS4. I remember hearing a rumor before that Horizon Forbidden West apparently wasn't even slated to release on the PS5, that Sony was thinking about just making it a PS4 game, even though the PS5 was going to be out. We have seen Sony do this before. Think God of War 2. God of War 2 came out, and it was a hugely anticipated game, but it only released on the PlayStation 2. It never released on the PS3. It's not like we haven't seen this before, but Sony did decide we're going to bring it to PS5. And honestly, considering this is a game that started development way back in early 2017, considering the bulk of its development started on PS4, I have to say I'm pretty impressed with everything they're listing here. All of the, special, I guess you could say, advantages that the PS5 version is going to have. And I obviously would like to see a PS5 only Horizon Forbidden West that's doing some crazy things with some gameplay mechanics and gameplay design. But, again, it's a game that started development in early 2017. It's going to take them probably until they fully move over to PS5 only development. And that's the thing here is once Horizon Forbidden West releases, even if it releases in early 2022, which I hope it doesn't. I hope it can come out this year. After that, they're going to start work on their third Horizon game, and that for sure is going to be PS5 only. And here's the interesting part. You ready for this? You know how I said it's going to take them time to the developers at Guerrilla Games as well as with all of Sony Studios? It's going to take them time to really max out what they're going to be able to do with the PS5 and really kind of dig deep into what they can achieve in terms of gameplay design. By the way, I am going to get to your super chats, guys. Don't worry. I have them right in front of me. I said it's going to take them time. So you think, oh, well, that's a little bit disappointing, right? Like, once they release Horizon Forbidden West, we're going to have to wait, what, like 4 years, 5 years, pretty much till the end of the PlayStation 5 generation to see this? Not necessarily. It really depends. I mean, that I don't have an answer for, but what I can tell you is that in the meantime, don't forget, Guerrilla Games has a second AAA development team that's working on some type of multiplayer game that they will release in between Horizon Forbidden West and the next proper Horizon game, that being Horizon 3. So, that's something we can look forward to. Whether that will be PS5 only, considering development of it started probably in 2018, I'm going to say no, it's most likely going to be cross-gen, but maybe not. Maybe not. So that's all of the new information regarding Horizon Forbidden West I wanted to share with you guys. I was thinking about doing a dedicated video on this info, and I might still do that for those who don't catch the podcast. It really depends on what type of news we have to go over this upcoming week. We definitely have a lot of exciting things happening this upcoming week. But there you go. I got to tell you, I appreciate Guerrilla Games letting us know about all of these different things that they're doing development-wise with the game and being transparent. One last thing I have to acknowledge here before we move on to the next topic, the meat and potatoes of the stream, I guess you could say. I came across an article that I don't have up in front of me, and actually I think it might be worth just bringing it up live here. Before I do that, let me get to these super chats. Primal Plasma, you're saying that you just found out yesterday that Unreal Engine 5 is free to download. Amazing. Anyone can download it and play around with these things you are talking about. Yeah, that is extremely interesting. You see these things and you assume you can't interact with them yourself, but yeah, Unreal Engine 5, it's out there, the demo, it's free. Maybe go check it out. We also have Solid Snake saying, I think we will be able to fly. Look at Death Stranding's zipline mechanic. It was made by Guerrilla's Decima engine. I think they definitely improved. Yeah, that's something I didn't even think about. The way you traverse long distances in Death Stranding, I didn't even put that together. That, yeah, you're moving pretty quick on those zip lines, and the world has to stream in relatively quickly. So, yeah, you might be completely, on the money there, Solid Snake. So I'm going to bring up this article. Let me see if I can find it really quickly. I saw it on Push Square, and it was about Horizon Forbidden West, and specifically how Guerrilla Games is claiming that the game isn't being held back. Give me one sec while I look it up. Horizon not held back. Let me see if it comes up. Yeah, here we go. Okay. So I have the article in front of me, and I just want to go over this because this is going to be a great segue into the next topic where we talk about the whole cross-gen surprise from Sony. I may actually do an another live stream completely dedicated to just talking about whether or not we feel misled by Sony's marketing, because I put a poll out asking you guys to vote on whether or not you felt misled by Sony's marketing when it comes to cross-gen and exclusives. And it was, the results were very surprising to me, considering pretty much all of us here are big PlayStation fans. But more interestingly, it has almost like 850 comments, which was crazy to me, because I did not expect it to spark that much of a conversation. So we may have to do a separate live stream where I just highlight what you guys, the community, is saying in that post. But we'll have to see what happens over the course of this upcoming week. iSiler18 again, you're saying, personally, I could care less if content is missing from the PS4 version, but just imagine the civil war that would happen if true. Well, that's the thing. Even if there are things missing, we'll never know about it. I mean, it's not like Guerrilla Games is going to come out here and say, yeah, the game is limited. They're not going to do that, you know? So let me read what's being said here. The title of the article, Guerrilla, cross-gen has not limited Horizon Forbidden West in any way. So it says the hot button topic, I don't know why, Push Square, they always use like weird wording. At the moment, is cross-gen, and Sony's decision to release games like God of War Ragnarok and Gran Turismo 7 on the PS4 as well as the PS5, and we're going to get into that momentarily. Many feel that in addition to being misled by the platform holder, these games can't possibly reach their full potential while still being shackled to ancient hardware. But Horizon Forbidden West director Matthias disagrees, and this is a quote. He says, I don't think the cross-generation development was limiting in any way. This is what he told Singapore News Live. When we started with the concept of this game, we had so many great ideas that ended up being included, to the point that we didn't really think about hardware limitations or anything. We just wanted to design a really nice, unique experience for the player, an awesome adventure. He continued, that's how we also brainstormed all the quests and events the player is going to go through. I think that the big delta between these two consoles, apart from the 3D audio, quick loading, and DualSense, of course, is on the graphical side of things. On the PS5, we can add so much more detail graphically. We can see the tiny hairs on Aloy's face, for example. You can also see a ton of detail from far away. He also added that there are some outrageous visual effects that will be present only on the PS5 version, including the existence of moss on rocks. That moss, though, right? That moss, though. Each individual strand of moss is rendered individually, he exclaimed. So this machine is so powerful, and it can add so much more detail to the image. I think that's one of the biggest details next to the processing power of the machine. We also use it for the specific lighting rig, and we already talked about that. And so, look, everybody says this is marketing, and you're not wrong. Obviously, this is marketing, guys. Like, I think that there's actually a very important point here that needs to be made that I don't know that Guerrilla is ever going to say. I don't know if any developer from Sony is going to say. The reason why I am saying that is because what I'm going to tell you, a Sony developer will never say it, because it goes against PlayStation's marketing with the PlayStation 5. Okay? Now, look. It's easy to sit here and say, I don't believe you. You know, Ron Burgundy, I don't believe you. You're telling me the game wasn't held back in any way. There's a few things we have to take into account here. And this is where I would hope that everybody listening to this is willing to hear this out, because this is not some type of fanboy defense mode activated. It's not, because you know what the truth is? It's hard for me to believe as well. Like, I don't fully believe for a second that Horizon isn't being held back to some capacity. I'm sure it is. You know, I'm sure it is. We're talking about a PlayStation 4 console that released in 2013 with Jaguar CPU cores. Something's got to give. However, we do have to take something into account here. The PlayStation 5. When we think about the PlayStation 5, when you think about the way this console was marketed and the big differentiating factor that the PS5 has in comparison to the PS4, to the PS4 Pro, and to some extent, even the next-gen Xbox consoles, what is it? I'm sure all of you can tell me right now in the chat. You don't have to if you don't want to, but we all know what it is. the SSD and the IO throughput. This has been the point that I, as well as Sony and their marketing of the PS5, has been just constantly hammering home, talking about. And this is why I understand some of the backlash that's occurring, because when you hear a developer like Guerrilla Games, a Sony first party developer, I want you to think about everything he just said about the game. Do you think anything he just said about Horizon Forbidden West is untrue? I'm going to say no, it's not. But keep in mind, he did not explicitly say, even though this is the hard truth, he did not explicitly say, we're not really utilizing the PS5's IO throughput. We're not really utilizing the PS5's SSD to a really huge degree. And you know what he won't say? We don't need to. That's the harsh reality of the design decision that Sony went with the PS5's architecture. For as great and as potentially game-changing as it is, here's the reality. You ready for the truth bomb to be dropped? Not every game developer is going to take advantage of it, even underneath Sony's first party, at least not at first. You see what Insomniac Games is doing with Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart? Somebody's going to say, well, how come Insomniac, they can take advantage of it immediately? Think about when the last Ratchet & Clank game was released. When was it? 2016? 2017? Somewhere around there. I think it was 2016. That means Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart development started even before Horizon Forbidden West. So why is Insomniac Games able to take advantage of the PS5's SSD in such a significant way and its IO throughput, but Guerrilla Games can't? Did anybody stop to think? And I'm serious, think about it. Did anybody stop to think that maybe it's not because they can't, maybe it's because they don't need to? And I know that I understand how that comes off, considering I'm a PlayStation channel, and I've talked all about the PS5's SSD and my excitement for the change in game design. But in all seriousness, I'm not a developer. I'm not working on Horizon Forbidden West. You know, if Guerrilla Games wants to tell me that, well, we're not really limited right now, like we're just not, then I'll take their word for it. Now, this is where, when you think about their approach to the next Horizon game, right? If they planned, I mean, obviously they're going to be PS5 only. Maybe their thought process in regards to development in general is just going to change entirely. I look at Ratchet and Clank and I think this is a game where it's been in development longer than Horizon Forbidden West, yet it's PS5 only, and it's already taking advantage of the PS5's IO throughput in a very unique way. Do you guys understand what I'm saying here? It is, and I don't need to be a developer to know this, and you don't need to be a developer to know this. And you know what? Look, I understand that there are people in the chat right now, they're saying you're Sony Defense Force, you're going to defend them. Guys, please stay tuned. Please stay tuned. If you think that this entire podcast is just going to be me defending Sony, you're going to want to stay tuned, because that's not the case. But in this particular case, talking about Horizon, there are points that need to be made that I do not see many people talking about, and there's nuance to it. The nuance in this case is that this is not a slight towards Guerrilla Games. It's not, because I think what Guerrilla Games has achieved with Horizon Zero Dawn, and especially with what we're seeing with Forbidden West, is incredible. It's going to be an incredible game. I think we all can agree. But when I tell you how genuinely impressive it is that Insomniac Games, the developers working on Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, out of the gate with the PS5, found a way to implement and utilize and take advantage of the PS5's IO throughput with their game design. Do you know how not normal that is? We are getting a game just 7 months into the PS5's life cycle that's already taking not full advantage, but probably very close to it, of what the PS5 can do in terms of game design. Everybody talks about scalability. Scalability this, scalability that. Yes, scalability is a real thing. And when it comes to graphics, when it comes to effects, when it comes to things like that, it's based off of my understanding, these are all things that are very much easier to scale. Like it's just kind of known, right? And developers know how to do this. They've been doing it for a very long time. But when you're talking about gameplay design, you're talking about a fundamental shift in what it can is potentially possible, what you can do. That requires innovative thinking. That requires some like serious brainstorming of, well, what can that do? Like how can we apply that to our game? Can it apply to our game? Horizon is an open world game, and the truth is, I don't know. Like, if you were to ask me, MBG, you want to see PS5 only exclusives, right? My answer is yes. And you ask me, well, why is that? And I say, I want to see what Sony's developers can do with this hardware and not be without it being held back. I want to see what developers can do with the SSD and the IO throughput and that architecture and how it all works together. But then if you were to ask me, well, take a game like Horizon Forbidden West, right? What would you do? If you made it PS5 only and you wanted to take a game like that and utilize the PS5's IO throughput and SSD, what would you do? What would I do? And this is where I will ask you guys, because maybe you guys have some good ideas. I don't know. When I see a game like Ratchet and Clank and I'm like, oh, wow, look at that. Insomniac Games they came up with something really interesting. Instant teleportation to different planets and universes, just like that on the fly. Makes total sense given the type of game Ratchet is and that universe. When it comes to Horizon, I don't know. And I'm serious. I am being serious. I would like you guys to tell me, like, what do you think? You're saying Horizon flying mounts, and I would say yes, 100%, right? If we don't get flying mounts, there you go. There's one thing, like, that's something that could happen if it was PS5 only, but we still don't know if that's a thing yet. Saying reduce the level of detail as much as possible. There was some pop-in the Horizon demo. Well, they're still refining it. There was a little bit of pop-in, but it was, I don't think it was very egregious. But yeah, you would, maybe that is something, right? Like, no more pop-in at all. Saying you would use the SSD to adopt more cinematic storytelling and being able to cut between multiple scenes at rapid pace. That's a really good one. That's a really good one, actually. So basically, like, not pre-rendered cutscenes that are cutting to different scenes. I like that. That's very interesting. But again, the game, like, the story that's being told, it would have to justify that. You know what I mean? But that's actually a really good idea. Seeing what else you guys are saying. Pop-in is very distracting, yeah. I do hope that with the final product of Horizon Forbidden West on PS5, frankly, there should be no pop-in at all. That would be kind of unacceptable, considering the SSD speed, right? Saying God of War won't time travel anymore. Yeah, we'll talk about God of War in a moment here. More interactive environments. 2 different games. You would want it to utilize the CPU more than the SSD. People are saying there was pop-in. I think that there was just like a few instances of pop-in with some of the vegetation in the distance potentially, but I'm just assuming. I'm assuming there was probably. I mean, look, it's a 15-minute raw gameplay demo. I wouldn't be shocked if there was like 1 or 2 instances of some type of pop-in somewhere. But I personally didn't notice it, so I'm just taking people's word for it. I can't sit here and say, oh, there definitely wasn't any pop-in because I wasn't looking for it. Maybe there was, but I don't know. Yeah, my eyes were popping, that's for sure. But yeah, so look. I want you to understand, I'm not defending the way Sony went about cross-gen, because we're about to talk about that. I just want it to be known that we do have to understand, if you care about games and game development, you need to pay more attention to what developers are saying, even if you think it may just be marketing speak. And maybe that's what some of this is. But the truth is, if Guerrilla Games is telling me when it comes to the size, scale, and scope of this game and everything we wanted it to include, it can run just fine on both the PS5 and the PS4, and we didn't have to really cut anything major at all to make that happen. I'll take their word for it. And you know why? Because you're right. The game did start development on the PS4. So who am I? I'm not a developer. I don't know how this works. What I will say is I do hope, my great hope is that with the next Horizon, right? Now that Guerrilla Games will, okay, so if Horizon Forbidden West comes out in 2021, let's assume the next Horizon, Horizon 3, will come out in 2024, maybe 2025. My big hope then is that, okay, Guerrilla, you've had years to just work with the PS5 hardware exclusively. Let's see what you can do. Let's see what type of major gameplay innovations you can potentially bring to the table with Horizon 3. See what I'm saying? So we do have to ask ourselves, like, you know, when it comes to developers, they're the ones that decide what fits in their game, what's going to make the most sense, you know? Obviously, Guerrilla Games is not going to come out here and say, well, we had to cut this, and that to get it to run on the PS4. Maybe that's the case. Maybe not. But based off of everything I've seen so far of Horizon, it's looking pretty good. It's looking pretty good. By the way, guys, do me a big favor. We have over 1,000 people watching this and hanging out with me, which is awesome. Thank you guys so much for being here and hanging out with me. Please hit that like button. We're just about to hit 500 likes. Can we get to 600 likes? Possibly 700. I would really appreciate that. Let me get to some of these super chats. Perturbed Sun, you're saying cross-gen and PC ports make business sense with PS4 and PC install bases. Sony leaning into both is smart in my opinion. Sony's PC launcher is a logical move too. Yeah, we're going to talk about the business side of it, and we have to acknowledge that. And trust me, we're about to dive deep into the whole cross-gen conversation. Figuratively literal, you're saying personally, I think God of War and Horizon Forbidden West are held back as much as God of War 2 was on PS2. I think the games are conceived as an idea on PS4, which didn't include PS5 tech. There you go. Like, thank you, figuratively literal. I think you actually worded that really well. These games are conceived as an idea on the PS4. Everything that encapsulates the vision of what this game is when it comes to size, scale, and scope, as well as features, are conceived on the PS4, not the PS5 inherently. That's going to be a huge determining factor in what we end up seeing. It just so happens that a game like Ratchet & Clank, considering how long this game has been in development, don't you think Ratchet & Clank should have came out sooner, considering it released in 2016? I do. I mean, it probably should have been a 2019, maybe 2020 game, but it wasn't. Because I have a feeling that at some point in development, they kind of, I don't want to say they uprooted the entire development, but I think they made some big, drastic changes to utilize the PS5's SSD because they had that light bulb idea where they're like, holy crap, we can do this. Like, we can do this with this hardware. That's just my assumption. But we also have Devakin, you're saying, sounds like the SSD is only good for portal jumping. Well, that's the thing. We are in the early days, and the portal jumping we're seeing in, games like Returnal and especially Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. Yeah, so far it's like the big, like, whoa, that's pretty cool. Like, we haven't really seen that before, or at least not in such a way, right? I think that as we go further, we're going to start to see more. Like, I have no doubt about that. Not just on the PS5, but the Series X as well, because the Series X has an SSD that's no slouch. But it's interesting because it's like the removal of every single bottleneck of the PS5 combined with that SSD speed, combined with the IO throughput, there is so much potential there. It's just the sad reality is we're going to have to wait longer to see that potential even get close to being fully realized. I know that maybe we were sold on the promise that, like, yeah, you're going to get this, and everybody assumes, like, well, we're going to get it right now, right? It's like, well, we got to give them time. Like, they have to have time to innovate. Innovation takes time. It does. It takes a lot of brain power, and time is money when it comes to this industry, right? Kevin, you're saying you comparing two engines. Insomniac is way further ahead than Guerrilla. A house that built Spyro versus a house that built Killzone. They're close. Well, you're right. I am comparing two very different engines, and I guess, like, I'm just kind of trying to view it from the, like, if I was working at Guerrilla Games or Insomniac Games, and then it's like, you think about how game production starts, which I have a very limited knowledge of, I would just assume it starts like anything else. You kind of map out your plan. And that's the first thing that happens before you begin to execute it. I'm just saying, like, when that happened, I think both Insomniac and Guerrilla were mapping it out on the PS4, but I think Insomniac was the one who like immediately just kind of recognized like, oh wait, hold on, like we can do this in our game, and like this is something we kind of wanted to do, but we weren't sure if we could do it. Now we know we can make this happen. To whereas I feel like with Horizon, it's like, did they run into anything that they wanted to make happen with this game that suddenly they thought, oh well, we can't, or this could only happen if it was PS5? I don't know that. We can't know that. We can assume, maybe I'm naive. Maybe I'm giving Guerrilla Games and Sony too much the benefit of the doubt, but I don't know. It's just hard for me to be that disheartened after what we saw with Horizon Forbidden West. That's all. Because I think it looks great. Like, it looks like it's going to be a great game. It might not be like the mind-blowing, like, this is gameplay design turned on its head type thing I wanted to see, but maybe that's a little bit unfair of me to even expect that so soon. You know what I mean? And I'm not sidestepping the whole, but Sony said, but Sony misled. I'm not sidestepping that. Like I said, we're going to get to that. Let me get through these super chats first. Kinney Hun, 25, you're saying, I am a game developer. PS5 and PS4 have the same architecture. Scalability is true. In PC games, we have to program games to run on 10 plus old hardware. Yeah, you know what? Like, I've always known that scalability is a real thing, and I've never denied that. I guess I just, I think Ratchet and Clank is a good example. Like, I'm not a developer, but, I've seen the argument made that you could scale down Ratchet to make it work and run on a PS4. And, like, I personally don't believe that. Maybe, again, I'm naive because I believe Sony and I believe Insomniac when they say the way this game is designed from the floor up, at least in terms of like this specific mechanic, that's very integral and that's important. It's integral to the entire experience of the game. It's not like just one mechanic that you can throw away or add in. It's integral to the entire experience. We could only get this running on the PS5 and maybe like a really, really, really high-end PC that has an SSD and architecture very similar to exactly what the PS5 is. You know what I mean? It's not that I've never believed scalability. It, like, in terms of the graphical side of things, and like if you were to just remove the portal jumping and the alternate dimension things, like instantaneous dimension jumping of Ratchet and Clank, I have no doubt you could probably scale that game down and get it to work on the PS4. I firmly believe that. May hear my stomach growling again. I didn't eat before the podcast once again. But Kinney Hun, feel free to give any more insight you would like if you are in fact a developer on anything we're talking about here, because I want to make it known I'm very ignorant in a lot of the things I'm speaking about right now because I'm not a developer. I don't work at Sony. I don't know how these things actually work. I am certainly not going to sit here and pretend I know better than a developer or that I know more than a developer does. I don't. Okay, I just don't. I don't have that firsthand experience or that knowledge. And I don't want it to come off as I know better than the developers because I simply don't. I just feel like it's important for me to say that. Mr. Hamster, you're saying your beard pop in sometimes during the podcast. Yeah, thank you for that, man. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Devakin, again, you're saying, so let's wait for Horizon 3, God of War 6, GTA 8 on 4 years. Eyes emoji. Look, Devakin, I understand it. I'm not telling anybody to wait for anything. That's the great thing about this. The only thing, you know what? Let me rephrase that. I am telling you to wait for something, but the thing I'm telling you to wait for really isn't that big of a deal. I just hit my mic. Hopefully that wasn't too loud. I'm telling you to be patient when it comes to this revolution in game design that we all want to see, that Mark Cerny talked about. We need to be patient. Maybe Sony was a little bit misleading, making it sound like we're going to get that right up front. But the reality is developers need time. They need time, and completely changing gameplay design from the ground up doesn't happen in just a year or two. It's going to take time. So when I tell you, I'm not telling you to wait for Horizon 3 or God of War 6 or GT 8. I'm not. We're going to be waiting for those games regardless. All those games you just mentioned, we're getting Forbidden West. We're getting God of War Ragnarok. We're getting GT 7. The reality is they're going to release on PS4, and we're not going to see that insane radical change with some of the gameplay areas that we were hoping to see, but we're still going to be getting great games nonetheless. For those wondering, I was considering putting the thumbnail and even the title of my video and this podcast. I chose not to out of fear that it would get some backlash because people would think they would misunderstand what I was trying to say. I was thinking about calling the overall title of this podcast misleading, but leading nonetheless. You understand what I'm saying? Where it's like, yes, Sony's been certainly a bit misleading, but they're still leading, as in they're still showing how to do cross-gen right, how to make a cross-gen game look really good. You see what I'm saying? TGK, thank you for the generous super chat, buddy. You're saying in terms of gameplay, the DualSense is the most next-gen feature. Like in Returnal, the alternate fire has a specific feel on the DualSense, which affects the game because you can intuitively react with the game without looking at the UI. Dude, I 100% agree. Like, something that bothers me with these conversations sometimes is I feel like it does overlook all of the other features that are constantly being utilized and are 100% being utilized, especially by Sony Studios, where it's like, okay, like Horizon, let's just assume Horizon won't have flying mounts. Oh, that sucks. That's definitely an obvious limitation of it being cross-gen. But what's it doing with the DualSense? That's a big deal to me. What is it doing with 3D audio? Potentially another big deal to me. What Guerrilla's telling me they're doing with the water, with the graphics, the level of detail. These are all things that do matter to me, and the quick loading as well. For any time you're going to be fast traveling in the game, these are all things that do matter. So, I would be hard pressed to disagree with what you're saying. Because I do agree with it. Like, is the DualSense the most next gen thing? Maybe. I will say it has been certainly a difference maker in my experience with a lot of these games. And I'm not just saying that. Like, I need to make that clear. I know that it's like, well, you're the PlayStation fan. You're obviously going to say you like the DualSense. No, if I really thought the DualSense was like kind of gimmicky and like, it's a little bit, I think Sony overhyped it a little bit, I would tell you it's not. When it's utilized properly, anybody will tell you it's not. Like, this is... Like, it shocks me that Xbox doesn't have this, and they might not get it this generation. And it's sad because there are a lot of Xbox gamers who, they kind of brush it off and they're like, oh, the DualSense, it's just, it's just a gimmick. It's just extra vibration. Like, oh, you don't know. Like, you don't know. You don't know. Like, when you try Astrobot, Returnal, games like this, Spider-Man, Demon Souls, and I would assume especially Ratchet and Clank coming out soon. Trust me, you won't say that. You won't say that. Thank you for that, buddy. iSiler18, you're saying it was strange to see Returnal out when Ratchet was heavily marketed first after all. Yeah, I think Ratchet was maybe going to need a little bit more time than Sony realized, or maybe Insomniac realized. Like, they said it was going to be there for the launch window of the PS5 and it never happened. So that was a little bit strange. Keegan Moore, again, you're saying MBG, some potentially exciting news. I think we might see Horizon at Summer Game Fest. It was in the hype trailer. Really? Well, I didn't check out that hype trailer yet. I will have to check it out. I mean, if it's there, then clearly it's going to be there, right? Are we going to get a release date trailer where they show flying mounts? Maybe that's why they wanted to save the flying mounts. Marketing. Everybody's going to be mad. Games being cross-gen. Wait, save the flying mount trailer. Because once we drop that, everybody's going to know. You don't have to worry. Nothing's being held back. I'll have to check out that trailer, though. Ben, Sonny, Isaac, you're saying not really happy about how poorly made the DualSense controllers are when compared to my year-old DualShock 4. My replacement DualSense controllers have L2 broken on one and R2 broken on another. I mean, honestly, man, that's a difficult thing for me to agree with, simply because I have 4 DualSenses, definitely more than the average person, and maybe that's why I'm not experiencing any problems, because I keep interchanging all 4 of them. And I have 4 DualSenses for the sake of couch co-op. I have not, knock on wood here, I have not had any problems with my controllers. No stick drift, no broken triggers, nothing like that. But I understand that some people are having that issue, and maybe it is a quality problem, but, I don't know, man. Maybe you have to treat it more delicately. That might be a reality. You might have to. But thank you for the super chat, buddy. DDP540, you're saying scalability is a real thing, but so are minimum specs and the lowest common denominator. Yes, they are. You're 100% correct. Rory, you're saying one benefit of the PS5's SSD is that it can fill the RAM in just over a second, so everything on screen in front of the player can be in RAM at once as the player moves through the world. Yeah, again, like, what can game designers do with that? I think we're seeing a glimpse of it with Ratchet and Clank. But other than that, we're going to have to wait to see. I think some potentially very exciting things can be done. Kevin, you're saying CV and production limits ruined the original plans. Sony seems to be pivoting as a buffer for development. That's another factor that we have not considered is, I understand the argument. A lot of people will say that's stupid. Sony never cared before about how many next-gen consoles were in the wild. People will say there's more PS5s out now at this time period than there were PS4s in the same time period, and Sony did not embrace cross-gen in such a way. And you're right. But at the same time, like, has Sony ever run into a production issue that has lingered this long? Have they ever has there ever been like an industry-wide chip shortage or semiconductor problem? I don't recall. It seems like it's definitely more severe this time, and unfortunately, it seems like it may actually have a much bigger impact over the next year and a half than maybe people want to accept or realize, and that could very well, alter things. GT7, oh boy, we got to talk about GT7 and what happened there. So, not good. Not a good look for Sony in terms of the marketing side of things and what they said. Siler, you did upgrade your membership. Thank you so much for that, man. Joining the Play Has No Limits tier. Thank you so much, buddy. Really appreciate that support. Chris B, you're saying, oh man, DualSense with Halo weapons? Yeah, right? I mean, that's what I'm saying. I do feel like, Xbox's games could benefit greatly if they were able to implement the DualSense technology into the Xbox controller. Christopher, you're saying, MBG, I am sorry that you had to go through that situation with the comment about your son. You cannot feed the trolls as hard as it is. You have to just let it go and don't give it the time of day. 100%, man. I'm over it. I feel a little bit bad because I wasn't trying to paint myself as a victim. It was upsetting, obviously, but the message I was trying to get across is just be better to one another. Just talk to people the way you would want to be talked to. It's that simple. I know it sounds cliche, but that's the message I was trying to drive home. But I appreciate it, man. And I appreciate the super chat. Again, appreciate all the support you guys have been showing me. And we have Anthony Ramos upgrading your membership to the Play Has No Limits Plus tier, which is awesome. Thank you so much for that, man. Really appreciate that. Really appreciate all of you guys going above and beyond to help support the channel. Does not go unnoticed, obviously. Thank you so much, man. And we have Panthorium. You're saying with the redesign of the PS5's internal guts, do you believe they will shift around the EXT SSD port to make it more accessible? Also, activation of ports this summer speculation. I think we could see that. That is one thing that, like, it's not too difficult to put an SSD into the PS5, but it does require, more than one simple plug and play step. So they might do that. I mean, maybe it would be in their best interest if they're able to. That would make sense, but I don't know. As for the, update on SSDs, I don't know, man. I'm getting a little bit worried. that Sony's having some issues getting these SSDs to run properly on the console. I hope that's not the case. Like, I hope it's not something where Sony's like, yeah, we can't make it work without the console overheating. That would be terrible. I mean, that would be really bad, but I hope we hear about it this summer, and I hope that all goes well when we do. So let me take a sip here. All right. We have to move on. We're still talking about the same general topic, but boy, oh boy, this is where the ranting may come in. I've been pretty calm, cool, and collected so far with this podcast, and I don't plan to go completely off the rails or anything like that. But we need to talk about the cross-gen situation from a different angle. We're no longer talking about games being held back. We're no longer talking about game design. These are all things that we already know about. What we need to talk about now is Sony and the way that they have went about this entire situation. There are some things that I believe that would be classified as 100% fair, valid criticisms. Then there are things that I think people just kind of want to run with to make things seem worse than they actually are. So first, let's acknowledge God of War. We need to acknowledge something, and this is a fact. I know that some people, for some reason, they will say this is damage control. This is me defending. It's not. This is a fact. Sony never marketed God of War as a PS5 exclusive. So to sit here and say that they did is factually incorrect. Did Sony lead you to believe that God of War would be a PS5 exclusive? Now that's an argument that can be made. Based off of the way Sony talked about generations, yes, I think it's understandable. 100%. If somebody were to say, well, I'm angry and I'm upset because I was under the impression that God of War, alongside these other games, were going to be exclusives. You're absolutely correct. Did Sony give the impression? Yes, they did. And I will tell you why in a minute. I actually have to bring it up here. This is something I forgot to do. Bear with me 1 second because we have some quotes. Jim Ryan, we believe in generations. Let me find it here. Okay. I have a couple quotes here, and I want to dissect them to clear up a couple of things here, to explain to you the difference between misleading, lying, and potentially even lying by omission. Very different things, all very much applicable here, unfortunately, for Sony. So let me get rid of this. We have Christopher, you're saying, do you see that Insomniac tweeted today that the day one patch for Ratchet will add 60 FPS with ray tracing mode? I did. I actually retweeted that on my channel. I think that's amazing. I love that they're continuing to give us a ton of options in how we want to experience this game. So, look, when it comes to God of War specifically, I think we can all agree that it is absolutely not surprising it's been delayed to 2022. I want to highlight something for you guys, okay? What happened? I want you to think about the exact moment we learned about God of War's delay, as well as God of War being cross-gen. Sony, you're very sneaky, Sony. You're very, very sneaky. The marketing and PR there, very sneaky, devious. I'll tell you why. So, at the same exact time, I don't know what the time was, but once it hit that time, they all hit the button at the same time. What does Sony do? Here's an extended Q&A with Herman Hulst, where you will learn in this Q&A that most people won't take the time to read, that God of War Ragnarok as well as GT7 are cross-gen. But what did they also do? At that same exact moment, Sony Santa Monica, your Twitter, you're going to release this tweet, a PR statement announcing the delay. Don't you find it kind of sus? Kind of sus that when Sony Santa Monica put out that statement announcing the game's delay, they didn't say anything about it being cross-gen? The truth is, Sony knows they messed up, and they know that they didn't lie legally. And this is where you guys have to understand the difference between a lie and misleading. If somebody says PlayStation misled us, 100% correct. You are correct, because the definition of misleading means to give the wrong impression, sometimes intentionally so. That's why it's called misleading. Lying means there are untrue statements being made. Okay? Now, I'm going to read to you exactly what Jim Ryan said that misled people. He didn't lie, but he certainly misled. So here's the quote. "We have always said that we believe in generations." I wish I could just get the quote without people interrupting it. So he says, "We have always said that we believe in generations." He says, "We believe that when you go to all of the trouble of creating a next-gen console, that it should include features and benefits that the previous generation does not include. And that, in our view, people should make games that can make the most of those features. It is time to give the PlayStation community something new, something different that can really only be enjoyed on PS5. Now, I know what you're going to say. I'm going to say, whoa, that's a straight up lie. Here's the thing. Legally, you take that to court. That is potentially lying by omission, potentially, but even then, I don't even think they acknowledge that. I'm not a lawyer or anything, so I don't know. But I'm pretty sure if they took that statement into court, like if somebody tried to sue Sony, it's technically the way this is worded. He says, we believe that when you go through all of the trouble of creating a next-gen console, so he acknowledges there's a next-gen console, it should include features and benefits that the previous generation does not include. Okay, the DualSense. PS4 doesn't have it. That's a next-gen feature. So if a game just supported the DualSense and that's it, they could technically say that's what we were talking about, right? He says, include features and benefits that the previous generation does not include. I mean, guys, it's what I'm trying to tell you right now, and I'm not defending Sony here. I want to make that clear. I'm not actually defending Sony, so don't misconstrue that. What I'm trying to explain to you is that we have been bamboozled. We've been hoodwinked. The truth is, Sony, they knew exactly what they were doing, man. And they knew that if we can word this in such a way, because keep in mind, Jim Ryan I know everybody wants to blame Jim Ryan. He was basically reading a script that their PR team wrote for him, word for word. He had to memorize it. They worded it in such a way that we can basically not have to come out here and say these games are cross-gen, and we can make people believe they're not going to be cross-gen, but we will cover ourselves to the point where technically, we never said they were PS5 exclusive. We talked about features that are exclusive to the PS5. We talked about games that will offer features that are exclusive to the PS5, but we never actually. Now, I know what you guys are going to say, GT7. What about GT7? Isn't that lying? Isn't that lying? You know what the answer to that is? Yes, it is. In this specific case, absolutely Sony lied. Now, I'm not so much interested in the lie itself, so much as I'm interested in why. Why? And that's what's fascinating to me. There was literally marketing material for GT7 that it said literally in the corner, PlayStation 5 exclusive. Okay? That's the equivalent of Sony marketing Ratchet & Clank as a PlayStation 5 exclusive to then just announce, actually, you can play it on PS4 too. Okay? They didn't do that same thing with Horizon, with Spider-Man Miles Morales, or obviously with God of War. Instead, what they said is PS5 captured on PlayStation 5. It didn't say PS5 exclusive. It said captured on PS5. Again, they were not upfront. They did not tell you this is going to be cross-gen. So when you see Horizon Forbidden West captured on PS5, and everything that Jim Ryan's saying about, we believe it's time to give PlayStation fans something exclusive, that's whatever, and all this friggin' deceptive wording they're using. Clearly they know what they're doing. Yeah, it's misleading. It is misleading. And people got upset with me on my stream that I did earlier or last week about this news, because my main point is, at the end of the day, no one's going to care. And I understand that people are like, but dude, we're not talking about at the end of the day. We all know at the end of the day, everybody's going to play Horizon. Everybody's going to play God of War, and we're going to enjoy the hell out of it, right? Everybody knows this, but we need to acknowledge Sony's mess up here, Okay, and this is where I want to make it clear that I'm not as blind as people think I am. It's just sometimes I naturally get defensive, but it's for a good reason. It's because I don't want this BS PR disaster that Sony clearly didn't think through. I don't want this to overshadow how great these games are going to be. You know what I'm saying? And that's where it's like, Sony, you do need to let the games speak for themselves. And I would argue that they still are. I told you earlier that I was thinking about titling and putting the thumbnail text of this podcast and saying misleading, but leading nonetheless. Now, why would I say that? Am I saying it's okay to mislead? Absolutely not. But here's the thing. And this is where I am going to start ranting. So brace yourself. I'm acknowledging right here, right now, I believe Sony was misleading. I read this quote, and I think there was another quote here as well. So it says here, Sony's misleading PS5 marketing looks even less flattering when you compare it to what Xbox was saying around the same time. Gaming is bigger than any one device, declared head of Xbox Phil Spencer just 1 month after Ryan made those comments. I know that there was another. So, I mean, look, it's all water under the bridge at this point. But, oh, this is not, okay. This is an opinion article from Games Radar that I'm reading. Maybe we could do a reaction to that. I'm not going to do the entire reaction now. So look, let me read these super chats before I go on my rant here. Okay. Christopher, again, you're saying Sony cannot afford to spend $100 million on a game like God of War and Horizon and then make it exclusive to a platform that has 90 million less potential buyers than PS4. I agree with that. I mean, look, business-wise, I don't think anybody will argue, well, this is clearly the smarter business thing to do, right? Oh, my neck is killing me, guys. Hold on. I like this kink in my neck. Don't know what's causing it. It's all this tension, all this tension. I haven't ranted yet, so it's all this tension building up. I'm kidding. But, I mean, look, I don't think anybody is going to sit here realistically and argue that it's not a smart business move. Obviously it is. Obviously, you're going to make more money and you're going to make more sales by making some of your biggest gaming franchises, if not your biggest gaming franchises, available as cross-gen. Obviously. But the thing is, that's not the problem people have. The problem people have is one that I agree with, which is, Sony, why were you so actively deceptive and misleading? It seemed totally unnecessary, especially in hindsight. And this is where I think maybe the situation's a little bit more nuanced than we want to believe. Like, it's just easier for people to believe, well, Sony lied. They lied. Jim Ryan's a liar. Like, look, there's no doubt in my mind the way they handled Spider-Man Miles Morales, the way they handled Forbidden West, and even the way they were handling God of War, it was misleading. There's no way around it. They could have and they should have come up out front and said, these games here will be cross-gen, right? Just like they'll come out and they'll say, Ratchet & Clank's a PS5 exclusive, Returnal's a PS5 exclusive. They should have differentiated between the two. They should have just let people know, okay? If you want to ask me, MBG, why do you think Sony did this? It was very risky. You could even say it was, again, completely unnecessary. It's only going to damage your brand. I think Sony saw the reaction to two things. One, they saw the reaction to Microsoft's approach, which you got to give Microsoft credit here, man. They were 100% honest and transparent, and they paid for it. They paid for it. And this is where I'm going to start ranting soon. They said, yeah, our games are going to be cross-gen for the next year or two. Flat out. They just said it. I think that, and I think the negative reaction that got and garnered made Sony nervous. We're like, because like maybe Sony was planning on making us aware of this upfront, like they should have. And then they suddenly got scared. They're like, this is critical. Like, we can't screw this up. This marketing of our next gen console. Maybe we shouldn't be like, let them know explicitly. Maybe that would backfire on us. But then they saw the gameplay, the reaction to the gameplay demo of Halo Infinite, and how people were furious at what they saw because they're like, this is what we're going to get with cross-gen? Are you kidding me? And I think Sony was like, oh, we got to hide this now. It's not right, and it's not justified. Absolutely not. But if I'm just saying, if you want my take on why they would do that, like, what would Sony have to gain from being deceptive and misleading? I think it was a temporary gain for potentially, like, here's my thought process. I think they were banking on people believing 100% that Sony's not doing that, dude. We don't have to worry. Sony's all in for next gen only exclusives. They're not doing cross-gen. They're not following Microsoft's footsteps. I think Sony's like, yeah, you like that, don't you? Yeah, that's right. And then it's like, well, when are we going to tell them? Like, sir, we like, Jim, we got to tell them, like, we'll get sued. Like, we got to tell them these games are cross-gen. And it's like, well, I'm not saying it's Jim Ryan saying this. I mean, he does make all the decisions ultimately. But I think it's like, well, maybe we'll let them know later when we show the gameplay and, we're closer to launch or even we're at launch. I don't think they'll care as much. We got to get away from that. We'll let them know. And it's like, I don't know that it didn't work that way for them. Like, I do believe at the end of the day, people will get over the lies, like with GT7 and the deception and the misleading with Horizon and Spider-Man and God of War, because they're going to be like, you know what, these games are awesome. And like, I hate the way you built up the marketing with the next gen console around them and whatnot, but these games are awesome. You know what I mean? Like Spider-Man Miles Morales was awesome, even though it was cross-gen. I think that that's ultimately going to rule at the end of the day, but this is where the problem is, and I'm going to tell you what, do you know why we have to hold Sony accountable for this and why I am frustrated that they did it this way? Because whether Sony knows it or not, you may be saving saving yourself in the moment. Like, you're not going to get the same negative backlash that Microsoft got with the announcement of their cross-gen games, even though you're doing pretty much the same thing. I hate to break it to you, you're going to lose something even more important, and that is trust, faith. Because now, what people are going to do? They're going to anytime they hear Jim Ryan talk now, they're going to be like, I don't know. Anytime they hear Sony's PR, they're like, I don't know. Can I believe any of this? Should I? And that's the problem here. The problem isn't that they're cross-gen. The problem isn't that Sony wants to continue to make more money on the PS4. The problem is that they are not being transparent up front. And the lingering problem is that now people don't know what to think. They don't know what to think when they hear Jim Ryan say anything or when they hear Sony's PR and marketing. And that sucks. That sucks, because as somebody who I want to get excited at the things Sony's saying and talking about. Am I now going to have to be skeptical? You know what I mean? Sony says, oh, yeah, Ratchet & Clank is a PS5 exclusive. Now, they haven't explicitly confirmed that it's not coming to PC in the future, but it's like, if it ever can, will it? I guess. I don't know. So I know I said I was going to rant, and that's coming in next, but I have to just make sure that people understand, because I was getting a lot of backlash thrown my way where it's like, dude, you are a hypocrite, you are disingenuous, you're defending Sony, you're defending lies, you're defending misleading. No, look, I believe at the end of the day, it's not going to matter. Sony's crappy PR and misleading PR isn't going to matter. What's going to matter is God of War is going to be amazing. What's going to matter is Horizon Forbidden West obviously is going to be amazing. That's what's going to matter. Even GT7, it's going to be amazing. But I just want to make everybody aware that, like, yeah, I'm not blind to this, and we have to call it out for what it is. We have to call a spade, so that way Sony doesn't continue to do it. We can't sit here and pretend that Sony didn't mislead at all, because they absolutely did. And in the case of GT7, that was a straight up lie. Why? I don't know. My thought process with GT7 is I think Sony had like an internal projection of like, assuming there would be no production issues with PS5, by the time GT7 would come out, they thought there'd be this amount of PS5s out. So GT7 is going to sell like crazy, right? No problem. Like, it'll have this massive install base. And then they found out, oh, actually, that's not. We're probably going to see a massive dip in sales. We got to put it on PS4 now. Even though we marketed it as a PS5 game, we have to put it. I think that may have been what happened. Chris B, you're saying, I agree, but also remember the context. Microsoft during that time said all games playable on the Xbox One and Series X for 2 years. Yes, we did acknowledge that. Figuratively literal, you're saying, according to Colin Moriarty, Sony's PR are notorious. Even within Sony, most hate dealing with them, to the point where Sony's PR almost hold some internal divisions at ransom. That's scary. That's a scary thought, that even Jim Ryan is scared of his own PR team. Like, are you sure I should say this? And they're like, yes, trust us, Jim. This is why you pay us. You know what I mean? And it's like, he's probably like screaming at their PR team, like, everybody hates me now. What are you guys doing? Like, I'm reading the lines you guys are giving me, and everybody's calling me a liar, making memes, It's funny to imagine it happening that way, but I did hear Colin Moriarty say that, where Sony's PR team is like absolutely notorious for just being straight up a-holes, man, and just like, even within Sony, like, and their development teams, they like hate dealing with them. You got to admit though, even though Sony's PR team they can be a little bit well, not even a little bit, but in some cases it can be just smoke and mirrors, and it can be misleading. When they do, like, they do know how to hype a game up. They do know how to properly showcase a game, and that's like the big silver lining here that I'm going to highlight in a minute with my rant. So hold on for that. I know I've been leaving you guys on the edge of your seats. What's he going to rant about? Trust me, I have something to say. I really do. Thank you for the super chats, by the way, guys. We have Music Maker Man saying Sony marketed very sneaky and clever. The PS5 was made with backward compatibility, knowing that generation will be small and technical over time. I feel like it's 50-50. Like, I think that Sony was sure to include next gen features that they could market as like, these are exclusive to the PS5. But when it comes to small, ultimately there being a small gap between generations, we have to see. We don't know that yet. Chris, you're saying expectations for Sony's new IPs. To keep it simple, very high, especially if they're PS5 only. Very, very high. I'm very excited. Oh God, that's good. I gotta get that rant juice in before I rant, right? Christopher, again, you're saying, what did they gain from being so shady? Sure, PS5s are sold out everywhere and impossible to buy, but so is the Series S and X. I'm telling you, man, like, it was the short-term fear. It was the short-term fear of, like, if we mess this up, like, if we get any backlash with the build-up to the PS5 launch, it's going to tank sales. I think they let the fear guide them and say, we have to be deceptive. We have to mislead. It's the only way we're going to sell as many PS5s as we want. It's like, that bothers me, because that tells me their marketing team, if that's what they went through, and maybe they've been fired since, I don't know, that's dumb. Like, why would how out of touch do you have to be? Like, no, like, just make it clear. PlayStation 5 will have some exclusives and others will not be. And that's okay. Like, people will be a little bit disgruntled and upset up front, just like they were with Microsoft. But here's the difference. When you show Horizon Forbidden West and Spider-Man Miles Morales is cross-gen, it's not comparable to the way Halo Infinite looked. And that's what I'm going to rant about. Let me just get through these super chats. Don't want to leave you guys hanging. The Versus Doctor Experience, you're saying the way Sony protects its AAA investments by going cross-gen is at the same time damaging current PS5 owners' investment, and this is anti-consumer, in my honest opinion. I'm going to have to disagree with you there. I mean, don't get me wrong. I feel like, everybody who owns a PS5 is entitled to their opinion. I do feel that, like, if you think about it, I want you to think about this for a second too. And this is not me trying to come to Sony's defense, but ever since that, like, who was the one who truly talked about transformative next-gen only game design experiences? Who was the one who talked about it? Was it Sony's marketing, or was it Mark Cerny? I want you to think about why they basically flicked Mark Cerny to the side and said, you're not talking about the PS5 anymore. Because he was the one that sold us on that dream. And it's still a real dream. And it's a real thing. He wasn't lying about what he said. But Sony, like, Mark Cerny's not Sony's marketing. Mark Cerny had probably no idea how Sony was going to market the PS5. He just knew his job was to talk about the PS5 and what it can do, right? And what next-gen games can do, potentially. And so if you think about it, they put Mark Cerny on stage. They give him an hour. He gets, people are not fully aware of what's happening. It wasn't as well received. And I think from that point forward, Sony was like, we're not going to talk about game design. We're not going to talk about what isn't possible on PS4, but is possible on PS5. We're going to focus in. Think about, what did Sony market highlight in their marketing? DualSense, 3D audio, ray tracing. Right? They marketed SSD, but anytime they market the SSD, are they doing it for game design? And like, this is only possible. No, they're doing it for load times, right? Instantaneous, like, get right into your game. The truth is, I think Sony made a huge shift. Like, I think the mistake that Sony made was they allowed the architect of the PlayStation 5 to let everybody know, holy crap, wait until you guys see what's possible in this thing. And like, people like me ran with that because I was excited about it. And then they're like, okay, whoa. Like, we have to pump the brakes here. We want to sell people on next gen, but we're not quite there just yet. Again, this is not me defending them. I'm just saying, like, these are all the different, like, when you just look back, at the domino effect and the way everything played out, it's almost like there's a bunch of different things that could have happened. Sony could have changed course at any time and we just didn't know it. For all we know, Horizon and Spider-Man were the only games that maybe were planned to be cross-gen. Maybe God of War was kind of up in the air. Maybe it was, let's wait and see how many PS5s are out there first, and then we'll decide. Because they could make, even though it could run on the PS4 and it was designed to run the PS4, they could still just make God of War a PS5 only game, just like they were going to do with GT. GT is a racing game. Not even GT. Demon's Souls. Demon's Souls can play on a PS4. Like, it can be, that's a game that, we'll talk about scalability. Absolutely it can. There'll just be longer load times, and worse visuals and effects, and probably lower frame rate. But it wasn't. They wanted to make it PS5 only for a specific reason. And I feel like with God of War, this is why they were so hesitant, because I feel like I know we heard that God of War and Horizon were always planned to be cross-gen. I'm not so sure about that. I think that was a decision that was made at the last minute, just like GT. I really do. I really do. I think Sony thought that they were going to have way more PS5s out, like probably right now close to 15 million plus, and they were going to feel totally okay, like everything's next-gen only. You also have to think about the investor side of things. Maybe that's what they promised investors. Although, to be fair, when you look at the investor reports, Sony made it clear that they expect the PS5 to sell better than the PS4, but by a little bit. I don't know, man. It's complicated. Anyway, Christopher, you're saying, MBG, in your opinion, when will we get the first massive true PS5 exclusive on the level of God of War, and what game will that be? I hope we aren't waiting until 2024 for a huge exclusive like Spider-Man 2. To be honest, I feel like Ratchet & Clank is a glimpse. I feel like Ratchet & Clank is extremely impressive, but I feel like that's scratching the surface. When do I think we'll get that game that's like, you don't have a face anymore because you can't comprehend what you're seeing, and it's like this is next gen. Like, this is it right here, dude. I want to say probably sometime in 2023. I don't want to say 2024, but I'm going to optimistically say I don't know. Maybe we could see, I think we could see a game revealed. You know what? No. You're talking about a game releasing versus a game being revealed. I think we could see a game revealed that does that to us, that makes us perceive it that way in 2022. I think Sony's going to have something like crazy to show. Like, you think Sony's developers aren't trying to do some crazy things with the PS5? I want to remind everybody, in Sony London's latest job listing for their brand new AAA IP, they specifically are asking for developers who are willing to try and work in unfamiliar, uncharted, as they put it, game design territory. Make no mistake, Sony is going to keep to their promise. It's going to take a little bit longer than we thought. And I think that that's what they were kind of afraid of, is if we make it like clear to people that they're going to have to wait for this like mind-blowing. But that's the thing, is like, I don't know that I care that I have to wait for the gameplay innovations and game design innovations. Anyway, I know you guys are asking for the rant. Really quick, Magnum Visuals. What if Sony realized that making games in a way so that they can only run on PS5 with the integrated I/O would hinder porting to PC? That is the nightmare. We talk about the dream. That's the nightmare right there. Didn't even consider that, but just reading it right now, the idea that Sony was like, sorry, Mark Cerny, we are not going to take full advantage of the architecture and hardware you developed and created because we need these games to run on PC because we're going to release them on PC eventually. And oh my God, dude, that's the nightmare. That's the nightmare. That is the literal opposite of what we were told, what we were promised, and probably the opposite of what Mark Cerny was trying to achieve with the PS5 architecture. I don't want to believe it. I would have to see that to believe it. And I want to say that with games like Ratchet and Clank, that is the proof we have right now that they're not doing that. But that's the nightmare, buddy, that we don't want. We want the dream to be true, not the nightmare. Keegan Moore, you're saying MBG, I think you're forgetting the fact that Cory Barlog decided to make God of War cross-gen, not Sony. He is the game director. Yeah, that was super interesting. That was very interesting. I saw everything that was going on with Cory Barlog, and I feel really sorry for his team and him that they have to be dealing with this crap when they're just trying to focus on making the best possible God of War game they can. It's frustrating. I'm not even a developer there, and I don't like to see that. And, pretty noble of him to try to take all of the weight on himself and carry that burden. It's like, Cory, dude, I think that he is just trying to do what he believes is the right thing. And if it was his decision to make it cross-gen, dude, he's the game director. He is the man who is largely responsible for this game right here. And this game was kind of life-changing for me in a lot of ways. And if he says it's going to be cross-gen, all right, Cory, then it's cross-gen. No problem. Like, I'm not gonna be upset. I'm gonna play your damn game. That's what I'm gonna do. So I did find it interesting that he said that, and I'm not sure if he was allowed to say that. But I feel like Cory is the type, he has power there at Sony, where he can go above the marketing team. He can say, I'm going to say this. I'm not getting it approved by PR. I'm going to say it. I'm going to put it out there. And I feel like Sony's PR is like, what? You can't do that. Like, Cory's like, what are you going to do? You're going to fire me? And it's like, no, no, we're not. We're not going to fire you. But I get the feeling, like, I could be wrong, but I just feel like, if Cory made that decision, and ultimately these are all decisions made by not Sony but developers, then I support it. I support what the developers choose. I do. I trust them much more than a PR team. Aaron, you're saying having upscaled PS4 games makes the price increase unnecessary. I don't remember Miles Morales' price, but at least they should keep the same price. I mean, I get that. That is definitely a valid argument that can be made, but I'm just going to tell you what Sony's going to tell you. But what about the DualSense? I mean, to be fair, let me ask you guys, like, people think it's a lie when Sony says, well, we want to increase the price, or developers want to increase the price because of the extra work that's going into it. I mean, I don't know what it's like to have to program a game around the DualSense. I would imagine that takes a pretty decent amount of time, like, and manpower and effort to utilize it correctly. And the load times, optimization, and you could say, well, those are all things that are to be expected, but maybe that's true, but maybe a price increase for games, it was always to be expected as well. Just as you expect all of those things to be there, all of those benefits, because I think you're saying having upscaled PS4 games, I don't think it's that simple, dude. I think you're downplaying the amount of work and effort that's going into optimizing these games for the PS5. I do believe that, I do believe that. I feel like when you look at Spider-Man Remastered, I know people don't like that because it's like, how the hell is this game remastered already and being sold with another game? But if you look at that compared to, say, the upgrade that a game like The Last of Us received with 60 FPS, there's a big difference. Like, you could tell, like, one took a significant amount of development time and effort, and one was kind of just like all right, we're going to up the frame rate and the resolution slightly. You know what I mean? Dan, you're saying, is not the game director calling the shots? It's Sony. Think about how much more PS4s are out there. It's just money if they get to sell you on games for $70. I mean, dude, look, like, I paid for... Well, I guess, I don't know. I mean, Horizon Forbidden West will seemingly be the first game that's cross-gen that I pay $70 for. And I'll let you guys know. I'll let you guys know. Like, do I feel it? I mean, I'm gonna tell you right now, Returnal felt worth 70, 100%. And I feel like, you're saying MBG, yo, control your mods. They're banning people for no reason. Mods, please give me a little bit. Somebody give me some context, guys. Mods, any of you who are mods right now, please only ban people who are being very egregious and nasty. You know, let people have a difference of opinion. I don't know what they're banning right now. I haven't been paying attention, but a message to all my mods, you know, I would like it if you could only, I would like it if you only ban people that are deserving of it. Spamming, okay, spamming totally is fine. Please ban the trolls that are obviously trolling and spam. So yeah, I just wanted to say that. So try to be careful not to ban anybody who definitely doesn't deserve it. I'm assuming you guys will be able to determine the difference. And then we have Christopher again. You're saying maybe Corey came to the realization deep into development that, hey, we could scale this back to work on the PS4 at 1080/30 and not harm the PS5 version. As an artist, he just wants to reach the most people. That's the thing. Like, stuttering over here. Was the neck is God of War? Like, was it developed from the ground up on the PS5, or did it start development on the PS4? They moved it over to the PS5, did all the extra bells and whistles, and that's it. I mean, what you're saying, Christopher, it's assuming that they were developing from the PS5 from the get-go, and it's developed from the ground up on the PS5, and then scaled down and moved over to the PS4. I think it's the other way around. I think it's the next God of War that's like development is only happening on the PS5. I could be wrong, but that would make the most sense to me. But what you're saying could be true as well. Rory, you're saying as long as there are no microtransactions, $70 is fine. Yeah, you know, that's the thing too here is like, people were complaining about microtransactions for the longest time and how toxic they are to gaming and they're cancer to gaming and all this stuff, which I agree with mostly. And then, you know, it's like, hey, you know, $70 games, that cool. And everybody's like, what? It's like, I mean, come on. Like they want to make more money. They're going to find ways to make more money. And I'm not talking about the pricing anymore of these games. I'll just let you guys know based off of my experience with playing them, whether I feel like, if you know, because I pay for these games out of my own pocket, whether I feel as though they're worth it or not. And Christopher, again, you're saying it's going to be interesting to see Horizon release cross-gen at 2 different price points. I mean, I'm going to tell you right now, if Sony tells me this massive visual upgrade you're getting with the PS5 version, the, you know, extra effects, the DualSense, the 3D audio, the extra optimization, if they want to say we want $10 more for that, yeah, I'll give you $10 more for that, because I'm pretty sure that it's going to be worth it, because every single game I played on the PS5 so far has been worth it. Like, I've seen people make the argument that, well, I'll only buy it if it's 60, but 70, that's where I draw the line. And I know the value of $1. Okay. I'm not trying to make it sound like I don't, but I'm just simply trying to say that, like, that's never going to be a thing for me. And it's like, well, what if they say 70 or 80? Well, then I become a little bit more cautious. You know, I'm not saying I'm okay if it just keeps increasing $10. No, I'm just saying it's like, I'm not going to sit there and be like, I'm not going to buy Horizon for PS5 because they want $10 more from me. Not doing it. When I was already full well planning on paying 60. No, it's like, this is the PS5 version. We told you PS5 games are going to be 70, so it's 70. I'm like, okay, that's okay. You know, people are like I've seen some people saying like, oh, I would only buy Returnal if it was 60, and I'm like, 50, I get it. That's a $20 difference, but like a $10, I mean, come on, like, really? I mean, I get some people are like that, but that's just a little bit strange to me. Nintendo Power, bro. Your chat is plagued with bots. Mods are fine. All right, well, I'll take your word for it, man. I mean, I'm just trying to let everybody. I trust my mods. I'm just simply trying to give the warning, not the warning, but the, you know, just let them know, like, hey, you know, like try to make sure you're not accidentally banning people who don't deserve it, you know, or putting them on timeout or whatever. Okay, here we go. I've been making you guys wait long enough. If you want rant mode activated, you're gonna have to hit that like button. All right. If you want to rant, you're gonna have to hit the like button. We gotta get to 1,000 likes, and then I'll rant. I'm kidding. We don't have to get to 1,000 likes, but do me a favor, please hit that like button, because I have to rant about this. I'm gonna try not to like scream or anything or get too worked up, but I have to defend myself. I have to defend MBG's honor. All right. I am sure that many of you who follow me, begging for likes again, dude, I'm not begging for likes. I'm asking for them. I feel like begging is basically like saying like, please, I really, 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 really need you guys to like the podcast. I'm not doing that. I'm just asking you guys to please like it because it helps it out. Saying get your rant juice mug. I'm waiting for it to come in the mail. I will for my next rant, hopefully have it. Okay. I'm sure that some of you here, maybe you can let me know in the chat. How many of you follow me on Twitter? Okay. I'm interested to see real quick. Oh, my neck. What is going on with my neck here? I know that some of you follow me on Twitter. In fact, probably a lot of you do. When this whole cross-gen news came out, I don't know where it stemmed from. I didn't look into it that deeply. What I do know is this. People were slandering my name based off of a video that I made. I believe I made this video sometime in July or August of 2020. And the whole thing was, MBG, you are an effing hypocrite, buddy. When Sony does cross-gen, that's okay. When Microsoft does it, that's terrible. These games are going to be bad because of it. So you might be expecting me to turn around and deny that and say, I never said that. I didn't do that. I was always for cross-gen games. No, I wasn't. I'm not hiding from anything here, people. But I'm going to have to inject a little bit of critical thinking into this entire conversation that people who, believe it or not, they don't want to inject any critical thinking because all they want to do is drag my name and my reputation through the mud to see me potentially fail. Why would they think critically? Why would they add the much needed nuance to any of these conversations when they can just say, you're a hypocrite, you're a clown, you're a liar, keep that same energy. Keep that same energy. You want me to keep that same energy? Really? You want me to keep that same energy? So let me, I get it. Somebody wants to say, well, MBG, if you turn to me and you say, I'm not keeping that same energy and I can't keep that same energy, they're going to want an explanation. Well, let me explain it to you, okay? And please, hear me out on this one, because I already know that there are going to be people, again, and these people don't matter. I want to make that clear. The only thing that matters is the potential damage they're doing to my name and reputation by spreading lies, by spreading misinformation, and removing all nuance, context, and detail that is needed. You ready? Really quick, Christopher, you're saying, I'm assuming there will be no free upgrade for the PS4 version of Horizon and God of War, since that would defeat the purpose of the two different price points. Yeah, that's a whole nother thing, dude. That's a whole nother thing. Big Boss, 3 tips, bigger muscles, fuller beard, and deeper voice. Thank you for that, Joe Spinato. Thank you. Let me give you an explanation. Let me take it back. All right, we're gonna go through this chronological order. Beginning of 2020, the marketing machines for both next-gen consoles are starting to ramp up, and we see a clear divide. Sony is talking about next-gen games. They're talking about the promise of next generation. They're hyping up these next-gen games. Microsoft, complete opposite. Yeah, we got next-gen, but all of our games, they're going to be cross-gen for a while. And I didn't like that. I was against cross-gen. And to an extent, I still kind of am. But you know what my reasons were? Go back and watch the content. Go listen. They won't do it. They won't. But go back and listen. And I said, you know why I don't like this? Because I'm afraid. Well, why are you afraid? Is it because you just want to fearmonger Xbox and tell us how Xbox likes? Well, no. I'm afraid because what if these games are held back? What if this really puts a big hamper and a big thorn in the side of what next-gen games can be? This is what I say. This is my reasoning. Pretty sound reasoning, right? Reasoning that still holds up today. And I condemn Xboxers. I say, Xbox, this is a mistake. How could you be doing this? Sony's doing the opposite. Sony's saying they're all about next gen. They're all about next gen exclusives and pushing the boundaries and innovation, and Microsoft isn't. I was not incorrect, because that's exactly what was being told to us. Okay. So then let's move forward a little bit further ahead. Okay. Keeping it going here. So what happens? Well, Microsoft and Sony, they both have their events. Okay. And Sony was secretive. And this is where they did go before. If I'm remembering correctly, Sony went before Microsoft, as in we saw Spider-Man Miles Morales, we saw Horizon Forbidden West before we saw Halo Infinite. Please, if I'm remembering incorrectly, let me know, but I'm fairly certain, if memory serves, that that's exactly the order it went in. Right? We saw Halo Infinite after we saw those two games, because Sony's event was in June, and then I remember Microsoft's was in July. You're saying we saw Halo first? Am I remembering incorrectly? Wait, I could have swore we saw Halo in July. Yo, so you guys are blowing my mind right now. Really? There's no way. I thought Sony's event was in June. Yo, I have like some Mandela effect thing going on right now. I need dates, people. I need dates right now, because you guys are freaking me out. Like, why am I remembering that we saw Sony first? Yeah, it was the July Xbox event, right? Yeah, I'm not crazy. You guys are trolling me. You're derailing this rant by trolling me. Oh, okay. I know what you guys might be talking about. I think you guys are talking... Okay, now I know where the confusion lies. The confusion lies in... Microsoft had their first next-gen event in May, technically, but it was with their partners and smaller games that was like a colossal disaster. Then Sony went, then Microsoft went. Okay, all right, I'm correct then. I am correct. I'm 100% correct. To be fair, though, they were both so close to one another back to back, it can be very easy to confuse them. But there's a really important point I'm trying to make here. Sony, do you guys remember? And I want you to remember correctly, because I remember like it was yesterday. Remember when we saw that like 8-minute gameplay trailer of Spider-Man Miles Morales? Remember when we saw that first trailer for Horizon Forbidden West, and it said it was captured on PS5, and Digital Foundry, I believe it was, came out and said, oh yeah, this is actually an engine. Do you remember how we were like, oh my God, this looks incredible. Like, this looks amazing. This looks, wait for it. This looks next gen. Now, Sony was being deceptive because they didn't tell us that, oh, it turns out these games are actually cross-gen and run on PS4. They hid that from us. So obviously, people like me, people like you and many others who didn't know this were like, this is next gen. This looks incredible. These games look amazing. Like, next gen is here, man. Okay? And we still don't hear about it. And the one thing I'm not sure of, and maybe you guys can let me know, I don't think that this matters too much. I don't remember if Sony revealed that Spider-Man and Horizon were cross-gen before or after Microsoft showed Halo Infinite. But I'm not sure that it matters, because the whole point I'm trying to get at here, you want to know why I say, yeah, Sony's misleading, but leading nonetheless. Why would I say that? Here's why. When Microsoft went on stage, Halo Infinite, and they say, this is Halo. This is our most important franchise, our most important IP. Here we go. You've been waiting years. Here it is, everybody. Xbox Series X, 12 T-flops, power, whatever the hell people are saying. Here's your gameplay. And they show it, and it's like, and you know what? Like, let's not, I don't want to misconstrue anything here. People have walked away from that gameplay demo. Oh my God, my cat's going to throw up on my bed. Come on, why are you going to ruin my rant? Get off my bed. You got to get off my bed if you're going to vomit. Leave it to my cat every time. You okay now? Okay, I'm just gonna have to let this go. I'm just gonna have to ignore that. Note to self, do not have my cat in the room with me when I'm podcasting anymore because she always derails it, dude. Every time. Get off my bed. Look, psst, come here. Psst, come on. Or just sit there and ignore me. That's fine too. Cats, am I right? Anyway, here we go. Here we go. All right, yeah, come here. Come on. If you're gonna have a hairball, do it over here, please. Thank you. Apologies for that. I can't even get a proper rant in these days. Chris B, you're saying Microsoft had a crappy indie event first. Yeah. Devakin, you're saying, so we're comparing a massive IP like Halo to one and done single player games. Halo is said to be one of the biggest FPS this gen, supporting 7+ platforms. Dude, that argument doesn't hold up, first of all, with the point I'm trying to convey. Second of all, I'm sorry, I don't listen to people who talk about Sony's games. Like, if you want to say one thing to just make me tune out, is when you say one and done. Sony's games are not one and done. If you're playing Sony's games as one and done, you're not playing them right. There's a lot of replay value with a lot of their games. Anyway, back to the rant. Apologies for that whole thing going on there with my cat. Okay, so then what does Microsoft do? They show Halo Infinite. They make it clear that all of their games, obviously Halo Infinite is going to be cross-gen. That wasn't the surprise. It was disappointing, but not the surprise. And what do they show? They show this gameplay demo that, again, I don't want to take it away. There were people who walked away from that demo where they're like, yeah, it really did not look visually impressive at all. There were literally screenshots. I don't want to have to bring them up to remind people, but I just might have to jog their memory a little bit. Literally looked like an Xbox 360 game. I know you guys know it's screenshots. I'm not just talking about Craig. There were multiple screenshots that were just like, oh, this is not next gen, dude. Like, this is not good enough. It does, like, visuals are not everything. Visuals are just one piece of the pie, but an important piece nonetheless. It cannot be a complete pie without this piece being there. And, it's lacking it, like, big time. And you know what? You know what I did? I said, that looks terrible. Is this what cross-gen is going to do? Because I didn't know. Sony's games were also cross-gen. I was under the assumption, well, this is why we're seeing such a difference. Right? Because Sony's showing Spider-Man Miles Morales, Horizon Forbidden West, and they look incredible. I would say Demon's Souls. Demon's Souls is a game that could run on PS4. I could technically use that one, but that's still a PS5 only game. And so, I guess I'm just a crazy, hypocritical fanboy for seeing the games that Sony showed that did end up being cross-gen and thinking, that looks damn good. These games look good. They look impressive. And then when I see Halo, I think, oh God, what is happening? That's what cross-gen's gonna do? No, don't do cross-gen. So here's the best part. The image that everybody's memeing me on and everybody wants to dunk on me for. You ready with this image? I don't have it in front of me, but it was a thumbnail for a video. And the best part about this is people kept shoving it in my face as if I was making a claim and I was stating a fact when I was in fact reporting on a freaking rumor that was making the rounds. Do you guys remember last year the rumor started to make the rounds where apparently internally, from different sources, I don't remember where the rumor stemmed from, but it was a rumor, and they come out and they're like, oh, we're hearing now that they're considering making Halo Infinite a next-gen only game, and because of that, they might even have to delay it to 2022. You know what the best part about all of this is? Is if you go back, and yeah, I was cocky. I was, because, I was like, see? In my thumbnail, I said, Microsoft is realizing that cross-gen was a mistake. Let me ask you what's worse. And this is directed to all of those people, not Xbox fans. I love Xbox fans. I love Xbox. I want to see them do well. Everybody's welcome here, but this is directed to all those people trying to keep it PG here. I don't want to go off the rails too much. All the people who try to slander my name, who try to throw this in my face, who try to dunk on me, let me ask you what's worse. that somebody's left under the impression that, well, this game looks horrible because it's cross-gen, or this game looks horrible because the developers are actually incompetent. Let that sink in. Really think about that question I'm asking. You do some critical thinking. What's actually worse? You know what's worse? Holy crap, this game doesn't look that way because it's cross-gen. This game looks that way because the developers are incompetent, or Microsoft's management was so incompetent that the developers didn't really have a choice and they weren't able to get the game looking the way it should. What's worse? So, sure, you want to call me a hypocrite because I was against cross-gen? Oh, I'm sorry. I was under the impression, just like everybody else, that Sony's games were not going to be cross-gen. Doesn't make me any less impressed with the games that they did show and the games that they did deliver. I was under the impression that the reason why Halo Infinite looks so garbage visually, let's not hold back now, looks so garbage visually, and Craig became such a meme, was because it was cross-gen. Turns out, no, that's not why. It's just because they couldn't do it. Now they have to spend a whole year revamping Halo's visuals to make up for that. I'm sorry. Did we see the backlash towards Spider-Man Miles Morales and its visuals? Where was the backlash for the Horizon Forbidden West trailer? Where's the backlash for the Horizon Forbidden West gameplay demo that dunks on anybody who doubts cross-gen? Including me. Sony dunked on me. They misled me and they dunked on me. One of their biggest fans. And you know what? What am I supposed to say? Well, Horizon's gonna suck now because it's PS4. No, they showed that gameplay demo, and just like everybody else, I'm like, you did it again, Sony. You did it. You're doing it again. Now you think for a second Sony wouldn't be condemned the same way Microsoft was if they showed Horizon and it looked like Halo? Well, they're different art styles, and I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear the excuses. I don't want to hear it. I will not excuse Sony. If Sony shows me if God of War looks like a PS3 game or an early PS4 game, I'm going to be unhappy about that, and I'm going to let everybody know, because that's unacceptable. It's not acceptable. But I'm pretty sure it's not. There's your rant. Been holding that in for a while. But it's frustrating. It's genuinely frustrating, people. Like, it's frustrating to see people try to run my name that I built up here for years on YouTube through the mud with a single image with zero context. They try to run my name into the mud and paint me as some kind of hypocritical, radical, off the rails person, which, granted, the way I'm ranting right now doesn't go a very long way in making you seem like I'm not off the rails, but I know you guys understand what I'm saying. Critical thinking here, timelines, context. It's kind of important, right? And I think what makes it worse is the reason why I'm venting so much here is because I try to actually engage some of these people, thinking maybe if I reason with them, maybe if I explain myself and they give me the opportunity to explain why this has went down the way it is, why I'm seemingly okay with Sony doing cross-gen much more so than I was with Microsoft. Let me cut right to the point. I'm gonna go right up the middle here. You ready? You know why cross-gen? I was against cross-gen with Microsoft and not Sony? Because the games Microsoft were showing me looked terrible. That's why. They looked like last-gen games. They looked like borderline 360 games. The reason why I'm okay with Sony is because they have actively proven to me through multiple gameplay demonstrations and multiple games I've already played that turns out cross-gen for PS5 and PS4 not going to be that bad. Yeah, it's not that big PS5 gameplay innovation dream we've all been waiting for. That's going to take a little bit longer, but it turns out it's still going to be pretty damn good, dude. You're really going to enjoy it. Is it that hard? Is it that hard to figure out? For some people, it is. Leo, you're saying in the end, I don't even think it's the console anymore. It's all the devs, and Sony has them. Look no further than the games made by those devs. That's true. I wish more devs were allowed to talk about it. I really do. That's why I don't think Corey was allowed to say that. I don't think he was allowed. I could be wrong, but devs, you don't hear devs talking like that. I think he kind of overstepped his boundary a little bit, but he did so, and I'm glad he did. I would love to see more developers just talk about it, I Salary Routine, you're saying MBG Hulk Smash. Seriously, imagine the work that has to be done to make Halo run on the VCR. There needs to be a cutoff point eventually. And that's the thing, dude, is like, I don't think it was actually like, just like Horizon, Halo Infinite started on the Xbox One, most likely the base model Xbox One. So I'm sure it requires more work and there's difficulties, but to me, it has become crystal clear, especially when you look at how many people left 343, higher ups, and just all this, turnover constantly publicly, and constant rumors in and out. It's clear that the studio is not managed properly, and it lacks the talent necessary to make something like this work and look the way it should. And we're gonna find out. And I hope, and I sincerely mean this, I hope that they turned it around. I do. I want to see Halo succeed because I want to see that pressure applied to Sony. It's McSpark 886. You're saying there are still PlayStation Studio exclusives for Sony systems. And you know what, dude? Thank you for that. Sincerely, thank you for that reminder that we seemingly, myself included, just completely ignore as if it's not a thing, as if it doesn't exist. As if there are zero true PS5 exclusives. Sure, it may not be the bigger ones like God of War and GT7 and even Horizon that we wanted, but to sit here and completely negate Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, Returnal, Demon's Souls, all incredible games that you can only experience, say for Demon's Souls if you play the PS3 version, on a PS5. Devakin saying, MBG, point me in the way to the latest great multiplayer game. The scope of the game is totally different. Why do you think PS don't do those games? All right, Devakin, listen. I'm not arguing that the scope, the size, scale, and scope of a game like Halo Infinite is different from Horizon Forbidden West, which is different from Hellblade 2, which is different from, the point is every single game has its own size, scope, and scale that is established usually from the beginning, and sometimes it increases over the course of development, sometimes it decreases. That's the nature of it. The point is, you can't make excuses. That's the point. If you really think about the real message and theme behind everything we're discussing here, there are no excuses. Sony, you want to make your games cross-gen? By all means, go ahead. Just make damn sure that I'm impressed by what you're showing me. That I don't feel like, oh my God, this is terrible. Why are you even doing this? Because I don't feel that way with Sony's games. I genuinely don't. I promise you, people got really upset with me with my reaction stream I did with the God of War news, because what I kept saying is, just wait, watch and see what happens when the next God of War is revealed. And we all know it's PS4. You think anybody, and of course there will be somebody, but 99.9% of people are all going to say the same thing. And that is, oh my God, this looks amazing. I need this in my life right now. That's what they're going to say about God of War. They're going to say the literal opposite about what they said about Halo Infinite. Okay? It also being a cross-gen game. Watch it happen right before your eyes. So you want to dunk on me and be like, well, keep that same energy. You know what? I'm not going to keep that same energy because Microsoft hasn't earned it. Microsoft needs to earn that. You want me to be excited about Halo Infinite after that demo we saw? Not going to happen. But you know what? Here's the good news. Here's the silver lining. Right around the corner, Xbox's E3. I put out a tweet yesterday and I meant it. Some people thought I was joking. Some people thought I was being sarcastic. Some people thought I was trolling. I absolutely was not. I put out a tweet yesterday saying, I hope Xbox absolutely kills it at E3 this year, truly. And I 100% meant that. I want to see Xbox kick the damn door down and get up right in Sony's face and be like, you know what? We're not playing around this time, buddy. You're going to take us seriously. And you know what? All those people who've been waiting for these games, the time has come. Check this out. That's what I want. Cross-gen or not, I don't care. I've had many criticisms towards Xbox. Frankly, I'm getting tired of criticizing Xbox. I'm tired of it. That's why I don't really do it anymore. Not to mention people get so upset if I even mention anything about Xbox. They get super offended, and it's annoying. All I want is greatness from both Sony and Microsoft because they can both achieve it. Do I think Microsoft is going to hold a candle to Sony anytime soon? Realistically, I don't. I think it's still going to take more time. But can they get off to a great start at this E3 with a great showing of Halo that turns it around? And holy crap, this is the visual showcase it was meant to be. And with some new games, yes, they can. They can. So you know what? All these dudes who want to spend all their time focusing on what MBG said this and MBG did that, you know what? Why don't you do yourself a favor? Go focus on what Microsoft's doing, because you know what? I really hope for your sake, Halo doesn't look anywhere near like what it looked like last year, because you better believe you thought the wave of hate and disdain that Xbox and Halo got last year was bad. Have them delay the game a year, show it again, and it looks like there was a minor improvement. Then you're going to see people freak out. Unless, of course, Starfield ends up impressing. Then that can cover it. Man, that was a long rant, huh? It's almost like I was saving up for this entire rant. But I hope you guys understand the points I'm trying to make. This is not damage control. This is me defending my name and my reputation because there are reasons to do so. If I genuinely thought, man, I really messed up with my takes on Xbox, I'm giving Xbox credit. They were truthful. They were upfront. Nobody can take that away from them. I can't. I'm glad they were. That was the right thing to do. Sony screwed up by being misleading. But at the end of the day, like I said, misleading, but leading nonetheless. Sony is leading the cross-gen charge, right? Maybe we didn't expect that. We were misled. We didn't even know that was something Sony was going to do, but that's what they're doing. They're leading it. When are you going to talk about PlayStation games? All I ever hear is Xbox. Dude, please listen to the first hour and 45 minutes of this podcast. I pretty much only talked exclusively about PlayStation games. It sounded like MBG, you're sounding like Adam Sandler having a rant. Yeah, right. Anyway. See, here we go. Deleted. Way to spin it, LOL. You know what? It's fine. I got it out there. It's for you guys. Take from it what you will. But I sincerely hope that you heard me out a little bit and you realize that I think I'm making at least a little bit of sense here, right? Right? Am I not making any sense? Is this too difficult to follow? I don't think it is. I know, man. I know you're messing, dude. If there's one thing I've learned is that, like, you know, even though I have these rants, we all know, at least 99% of us, we all know that we're just trying to have some fun here. I mean, look, for me, where the fun and games stop is, to be honest, it really does bother me when people try to run my name through the mud, because it happens a lot. Like, I'll give you a good example. Do you guys remember when we were talking about the whole PS5 13.3 T-flops thing? Yes, I got taken for a ride. I was gullible, I was foolish, and I believed it. And I put out a tweet, which I do regret, but this was a while ago. And the only reason I'm mentioning it is because people still throw it in my face, where I put a picture of Joker doing his forced smile. And I said in the tweet, Xbox fans, when they find out the PS5 is 13.3 T-flops, RDNA 2. And I made the mistake of not making it clear in that tweet that I was joking, but immediately after I put it out, I put another tweet right underneath it, attached to it, saying, this is meant to be a joke. Don't take this seriously. And people screen cap that and they throw it in my face all the time. And it's so frustrating because it's like, dude, like, I literally, like, you would leave that part out, right? You won't show everybody. You're just trying to dunk on me. You're not going to show everybody that I clearly said I was joking and I wasn't being serious. Why would you show that when you can leave it out and make me look like a moron? Maybe I did it to myself. Phil Nokio cannot stop lying. Phil Nokio, who came up with that? Come on, Phil Nokio, dude, that's funny. It's excessive, but my God, that's funny. That's funny, Phil Nokio. Dude, I swear, the stuff people come up with, it's so much better than anything I could come up with. Anything. People, what are some of the nicknames for Jim Ryan? Jim Lion Ryan? Dude, I love it, man. I love it. It's fun at the end of the day. So, look, I just want to wrap. I'm not going to lie. I was not able to get to all my topics today. I do apologize. I sincerely do apologize, because I've been saying the word sincerely a lot. You're saying MVG just joking isn't the defense. LOL, everyone is joking. Yeah, look, I apologize that I wasn't able to get to all of my topics. I can probably go for a couple more minutes here. I think maybe 10 more minutes max, and then I absolutely have to go because I have something to do soon. Figuratively literal, you're saying there are no excuses for the Halo showcase, but it did give them their most relevant mascot. Yeah, I mean, even the Xbox executives were trying to take it in stride by talking about Craig, but it's like uh, it's not good. You gotta figure it out, you know. Christopher, God of War 3, Santa Monica's new IP, Spider-Man 2, Naughty Dog's new IP, Sony Ben's new IP, London's new IP, Horizon 3, just a few of the PS5 exclusives we can look forward to in the coming years, dude. And that's the thing, man, is like, it's the early days of the next generation. I think people are inherently going to be harder on Sony and Microsoft because their job is to hype us up for the next gen. And then things inevitably come to a slowdown, sometimes even a halt because it takes time. And I think that's kind of what we're seeing right now. Locoism 1025, you're saying, what if the next Forza is next gen only? And we are still playing GT cross gen. I mean, you know what? I will tell you this, dude. I think that could be a reality. And if they both were to come out in 2022, and this time it's reversed, Forza, what it would be, 8? Is it 8 or 9? I think it's 8. Forza 8 would be Xbox Series X and S only, and then, GT7's cross-gen. I'm going to be watching that Digital Foundry comparison, I'll tell you that. Because what if there was no difference? Wouldn't that be weird? I feel like my whole world would be flipped upside down. You would expect there to be certainly a difference, right? And the difference should be in much so in the favor of Forza 8. But they are racing games, so you want to talk about size, scale, and scope. I mean, limitations to an extent. You know what I mean? All right, really quick. So, I didn't realize when I went into that rant it was gonna take up so much time. Let me see okay, so there were basically 3 topics I didn't get to. I'm going to try to condense these topics really quickly. I feel bad because I definitely had more to say. Okay, I'm just going to do some reading. Christopher, you're saying, LOL, watch Xbox flip on the cross-gen after the Halo thing, and all their games don't work on Xbox One. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know what to, like, really quick, I don't know what to expect from Microsoft and their future games. I think that there's a cutoff, and I think most devs that are working on games that are going to come out after 2022, they're working with that cutoff that it's going to be next gen only. All right, so real quick, now we're going to discuss Sony and their event plans. To me, it is obvious that Sony is going to have an event of some kind soon, and I believe they will reveal God of War at this event as a way to calm everyone down about it being cross-gen, so I did mention that. We are also hearing some interesting thing about Xbox's E3 event and what we should expect. So I have a lot of things listed here. I don't have as many for PlayStation because the truth is PlayStation is very tight-lipped right now, playing everything close to the chest, very few rumors, very few leaks. It's the literal opposite with Xbox. Apparently there were rumors claiming that Avowed would have a showing at Xbox's E3, but now we're hearing that the plans have changed and it won't be there. So I believe this rumor came from Jeff Grubb, and then there's another insider saying, no, actually, it's not going to be there. So I'll leave it at 50-50 chance. Leo Jimmy, you're saying, I've been thinking, what if Sony started making crossover games like what if they're comics, Last of Us World, but Drake's point of view in the start of the outbreak? What do you think it could happen? Well, I mean, there was teases before that the Uncharted universe and the Last of Us universe were both set in the same universe, so I don't know, man. Like, you're talking about doing games that are crossing over universes. I would be all for that. It would be weird and bizarre at first, but it could be amazing. That would be really cool. Basically seeing well-known characters and established characters in different game universes. Like, what would Nathan Drake be like in the Last of Us apocalypse? I don't know, man. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe we could see it. So Avowed, 50-50 chance it's at E3. Sadly, it sounds like Hellblade 2 won't be getting a gameplay demo. That's according to Windows Central's Jez Corden. And to me, that's extremely... he said, like, it might show up, but it might not. That's extremely disappointing to me. I really was hoping we would see Hellblade 2. And if we don't, then, man, that game is way further out than I ever thought it would be. Phil Spencer, apparently in the chat, everybody. MBG, if I buy Kojima Productions, will you be my Game Pass ambassador? By the way, Starfield will release on PS5. Well, Phil, I can't promise I would be an ambassador, but I think I would be more inclined to subscribe. Maybe. Honestly, I'll probably just buy the game.
And Starfield on PS5, confirmed. Heard it here, Phil Spencer confirmed it. Yasser, you're saying, I hope PS shows us some of that sweet... Yeah, can't have a stream without mentioning the sweet triple anus this summer. I need that showcase maybe this month or July. Also super excited for Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. Yeah, dude, I think we don't have many things to go off of, but I think Sony's 100% going to have an event. Like they have to. It would be I'm going to be brutal right now. Sony would be dumb to not have an event. I know that it's like, but they're on top and whatnot. No. You got to have an event. You got to have an event. I think we can all agree on that. Like, it would be a huge mistake if they didn't do an event. And then, yeah, it's got to happen. It's got to happen. I would be literally dumbfounded if they didn't. Continuing on here. So Hellblade still 50-50 for E3. And we were hearing a rumor regarding Halo Infinite's visuals coming from Colt Eastwood. I guess he's considered an Xbox insider now. And he said 343 will show a small feature on the campaign's upgraded visuals. Testers, apparently play testers, are saying that Halo Infinite looks improved, but not the mind-blowing top-tier visuals we've come to expect from 343 and the largest tentpole franchises on Microsoft's platform. Yeah. I mean, that's Colt Eastwood saying that, dude. Like, that he's like the last guy that you would ever think would say something like that. So I don't know, man. I'm telling you, like, no excuses, Microsoft. I'm not saying Halo needs to look like Horizon, but it just needs to look good. It needs to look impressive. It needs to look like a complete turnaround. And if it doesn't look like that, people are going to condemn it. They will. Christopher, they were dumb enough to start skipping E3. So, well, dude, you say it's dumb, but keep in mind, Sony's event that they did last year, the 2 events, garnered like an incredible amount of attention, dude, outside of E3. So we'll see. All right, we're going to move right along here. That's the update I have for you for the events. The update is I think Sony will have an event. Don't know if they will for sure. And then we have a couple updates on what to expect from Xbox's E3. Moving right along, it was announced that AMD's FidelityFX Super Resolution will be launching on June 22nd, and it will be available for both PS5 and the Series X. Some are not convinced it will be made available on the PS5 or that it won't have as much of an impact. It will. How much of an impact it's going to have, we don't know. That really depends on how Sony's developers can utilize it. But, we had IGN write up a big article on it, and it gave people the impression that it wasn't available on PS5. It 100% is. We'll just have to wait to see if it's utilized. So, to be honest, I don't know how much I had to say about that. And then one last thing here. Something seems to have went somewhat under the radar this past week, and that's the fact that Sony seems to be getting ready to make some serious studio acquisitions. So we heard a rumor that Sony may have already acquired Housemarque, but they also put out a job listing for an acquisitions and mergers director for their PlayStation business. This is some pretty big news. Like, it seems that Sony is still all about organic growth, but I think the reality, as I said in my video talking about it, is setting in that, yeah, they're going to, I think, start looking more seriously into acquiring some studios, big, small, medium, everything in between. Does this mean I think that they're going to try to acquire a publisher like Square Enix, like it's been rumored? I don't even know if Sony could do that. I don't know. What I do know is that they're getting more serious about it, guys. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I have for this episode of the podcast. I do apologize that I had to burn right through those last 3 topics. There's definitely more I could have said, but I think we pretty much covered all the important things that happened this week. And so, this upcoming week, we have a lot of stuff that's going to be occurring. Obviously, I think on Thursday, that's Summer Game Fest, if I'm not mistaken. I'm going to be streaming that. I'm going to be streaming not all of the events. Like, I don't think I'm going to be streaming like Ubisoft's event and whatnot, but all the major events that I know most of you care about, the ones that I care about most. We also have another new member, Slayin Chilean. Thank you so much, buddy. Really appreciate that. And with that being said, I want to give a big shout out and a big thank you to all of my members. And anybody who took time out of their day to watch this podcast, those who will watch later, especially all of you who super chat it. Again, you guys literally, those of you who are members and are super chatting, This is not to take anything away from those who are, because guys, you just being here and watching, even if you just let some ads play, it's more than enough. But especially you guys who go above and beyond with the super chats and the memberships, you guys are really powering this channel in a big way, and it's what allows me to keep it up as much as I am and keep it going. So really have to express my thanks for that. Somebody asking if I'm going to stream the Square Enix event. I might stream that one. I'm a little bit confused about when all the events are happening. I'm going to try my best to keep up. Am I going to stream the Battlefield reveal event? Probably not that. Maybe I will. We'll see about that. We'll see what's going on when we get there. And somebody asking if I'm going to stream Ratchet and Clank. I plan to stream Ratchet and Clank. I'm assuming I'll do it the day it comes out. If not, it'll be around the time it comes out. So look forward to that. Look forward to all the upcoming streams. Again, I can't thank you guys enough. One last request from me before you guys head out. Please hit that like button. You guys crushed it. We have we have over 800 likes. Can we get to 900? Can we get to 1,000? That would be incredible. Somebody's saying, thanks for the podcast. I watched as much of the ads as possible, hoping this helps. Oh, no, dude, that definitely does. Like, I know not everybody can super chat to support the channel, and I know not everybody can become a member, obviously. And I don't expect you guys to give like the way you do. It's amazing you do. But yeah, if you want to know, that does help the channel a lot. Ad revenue is very important to keep the channel, running smoothly. So watching the ads does help. CookX84 is saying, anyone remember PlayStation All-Stars? I think we all do. Unfortunately, I don't think we will be getting a new one. But all right, guys, that does it for episode 64 of Press X Podcast. Hopefully you enjoyed the rant. Again, there's some new merch available. Go check that out if you're interested. And yeah, I'll catch you guys same time, same place here next week for episode 65. Something tells me we're going to have even more to discuss than what we talked about here today. So yeah, thank you guys again so much. Can't say it enough. Sound like a broken record, but enjoy the rest of your day. I'm going to enjoy the rest of my day, and I will catch you guys next time. Until then, take care, guys.